Martin Heinrich while you were out of the room.
And there's
CNN
people,
called it for Martin Heinrich
and there's people
at
in
7
line.
o'clock.
No way. They
7:02.
didn't even give Gary 10 minutes.
Huh?
They didn't even give Gary 10 minutes.
No.
And he's not talking to the press
Gary's
tonight.
got- Gary's-
He's going to enjoy himself.
Gary's already planning his run for, I don't know.
I think this time he really means it.
Mayor of Roswell.
I don't think he's ever going to do this again. He could be mayor of Towski Valley. That's where he lives.
There you go.
He could.
All right, are we ready?
Ah, that cool soldier girl didn't
We are.
win.
We're starting right now. And welcome to tonight's coverage. I am Richard Eves, your host tonight. We have three great people in studio with us. This is KTRC's 2018 general election coverage. We'll cover a lot of statewide races, local Santa Fe races, and national races, things of interest to us, and things which we think will be of interest to you. I'm going to introduce all three people who are here with me, and they're going to tell you a little bit about themselves and what they are interested in. And that would be Inez Russell Gomez. Inez, you want to introduce yourself?
Sure.
And thank you for coming in.
Oh, thank you, Richard, for having me. I'm the editorial page editor at the Santa Fe New Mexican, and I love New Mexico politics.
What are you looking for tonight? I mean, what races are you excited about? Let's start with statewide races, New Mexico races.
Well, I'm always interested to see how the down ticket races are going to do, because especially since there's no straight party ticket voting, you have to actually think and go through one by one. The land commissioner race is supposed to be fairly close, with
Very close.
the Republican Pat Lyons polling ahead of Stephanie Garcia Richard, who's a Democrat, but we'll see how that turns out. The judges' races are interesting. There's a lot of them up.
Right.
So I think statewide races are going to be fun.
All right. Loveless Johnson III, welcome and thank you for coming in.
Thank you for having me, Richard.
Tell us about yourself.
Well, I'm the host of the Sunday morning political talk show that focuses on national politics mostly. It's entitled Call to Reason, and we're here every Sunday from 8 to 10, and I am excited about covering these bellwether congressional races. There's some really interesting races happening that the results will speak volumes about the Republicans or Democrats' chances for the overall night, and we're going to be covering those and covering some of these critical governor's races as well. Some interesting contests have tightened up in the Senate for governor and in the House. So we'll be following the national races tonight.
Loveless is our streaming genius, and so tell people, Loveless, if you don't mind, where people can, if they want to watch, where they can find us live streaming.
If you want to watch, all you got to do is go to the Call to Reason Reality Talk Radio page, or just Call to Reason. There's a page for Call to Reason, a group for Reality Talk Radio. Either way, just type in Call to Reason on Facebook and you'll find it. It'll be streaming in both places. It's also on Instagram, Call to Reason as well, YouTube, Call to Reason, and on Twitter. And our handle there is Loveless and Beth. And you can look for us there. We'll be also sharing and tagging the KTRC social media, so you can also see it if you're members or if you follow the KTRC social media, you'll be able to watch it there as well.
Okay, J.D. Billington.
Hi, J.D. Billington.
Thanks for coming over.
Absolutely, it's great to be here. Thank you for buying me dinner. The taco salad was great. You even had a bay leaf.
A bay leaf, and J.D. is exceptionally excited about the bay leaf
never
and the
seen that
taco
before.
salad. All right.
Yeah, J.D.
Could be
Billington,
all downhill from there.
owner of J.D. Billington Government Relations. As most people know, I'm a lobbyist. I lobby the state legislature. I don't lobby Congress, and I also represent the clients on generic government relations type issues. I've been doing it for 23 years. Know a lot about a lot, and I'm most excited to see how many seats the Democrats pick up in our state house.
Okay.
And I'm also excited to see what the real turnout's going to be in the midterm. You know, 2014 in this state, Barack Obama was the president. We had a midterm election. Midterm elections usually go against whoever is the incumbent president. So the Republicans in this state took control of the state house for a little while, for a couple of years. So this year we have a Republican president.
Right.
So Republicans tend to do better in midterm elections. Their voter turnout goes up, but we've got a president now who's a Republican with a disapproval rating of about 57%.
Right.
So it'll be interesting to see how those kind of cancel each other out and what the results are going to be. Democratic voter turnout is high, so I don't think the Republicans are going to do nearly as well as they did in 2013.
So far, what we're seeing from early and absentee voting on the Secretary of State's website is mostly Republican turnout and early and absentee. But before we get to that, joining us tonight via phone will be Senate Majority Leader, Peter Wirth will join us tonight. Also, State Senator Jeff Steinborn from the Las Cruces area. He'll give us the numbers and kind of the mood down in Doña Ana County. We'll have the Speaker of the House, Brian Egoff, with us today. Also, David Contarino, a political strategist and consultant who has clients here in New Mexico, as well as Kentucky and West Virginia. We'll have on Loveless's co-host on Sunday mornings, that would be
Beth Cope.
And where is she going to be?
She's going to be at the Stacey Abrams. She's currently at the Stacey Abrams Victory Party. In fact, if you're on Call to Reason looking for this video, you already see her streaming from the Stacey Abrams Victory Party. And she'll be calling in to report what's happening in Georgia. We've also got Shahid Mustafa calling in from the Beto O'Rourke Party in Texas. And that's going to be exciting, too. So we're going to be covering some of these national races live from the scene.
All right. Let's bring us up to date what we know so far nationally.
Well, the most critical thing we know so far nationally is in some of the exit polling. Although the races have started to be getting called around the country, the numbers are coming in from around the country. But right now, the most startling number to me, Richard, is what the American people have done themselves. What we know now is that in 2010, there was a 10% bump in 10% of all voters were people who had voted for the first time, new first-time voters. And Donald Trump and his activism was credited for that. Well, and that was at a time, a record for the nation's history.
That was 2016.
Yeah,
right?
2016. So two years later, fast forward to now, the first-time voter percentage of all voters in America, based on exit polling right now, is at 16%.
Okay.
And that clearly says that the young folk who said they were going to show up and show out are doing just that. That primarily, I believe, is one of the drivers of this huge bump. I mean, it shatters the record.
All right. We're going to have to wait and see what the results show, though, if it plays out. New voters, if they're, predominantly Democrat, marginally Democrat, maybe marginally Republican. We'll just have to wait and see.
Right.
Inez, any local numbers that stand out at you? We do have early and absentee on the Secretary of State's website.
I haven't looked at that yet, but I am looking at Twitter, and Heath Houseman, who's a reporter in southern New Mexico,
Right.
he says that 10 of 40 voting locations in Doña Ana County had wait times to vote, and that means there are probably people still in line. So even though the polls are closed in New Mexico, voting's not done. So that doesn't mean that we're going to get an early night in that really tight second congressional race between Xochitl Torres Small and
We're looking at
Yvette Herrell.
basically a race that was tied according to the polls going into voting today.
yes.
Senator Steinborn, I talked to Senator Steinborn from Doña Ana County on Sunday, and he said, don't be surprised if it comes down to a couple hundred votes in Congressional District Number 2. All right, JD, you are an expert in House races. You're looking at the needs of the Democrats and the needs of the Republicans in the state House. Why don't you tell us what you're looking at?
Yeah, I can
and what you're seeing so far.
I can summarize the picture for you very succinctly. Democrats in the House have to protect 7 seats. They need 7 people to hold their ground.
Okay.
And the Republicans need 7 people to hold their ground. And depending on how that combination goes, I'm seeing the Democrats probably picking up 2 seats, maybe up to 4. We can call one House race right now that's sort of close to us. This is House District 40, Joseph Sanchez, who's replacing retiring Nick Salazar.
Okay.
This is the Okayawingay Mora area,
Right.
northern New Mexico. He's going to beat Tweety Blanchette. He's way ahead. She's running as an independent. We can call that race. Joseph Sanchez has beat Tweety Blanchette. But there's another race.
Just with early and absentee.
Yeah.
Okay.
That one's
All right. You're
the
calling
margins-
that one.
the
JD's calling that one.
However, one of the 7 that I mentioned
Right.
that the Republicans have to have hold
Right.
is the Navajo Republican lawmaker from the Shiprock area,
Right.
Sharon Closser-Shilliage. That is on paper, a Democratic district, but she's been able to hold it. But we have a Navajo election at the same time for the president
Right.
of the nation. So the Navajo turnout's going to go up. Voter registration favors Democrats. And right now, we have Anthony Allison, the Democrat, leading 51 to 49. I think this is going to be a real squeaker. And I think this might be a challenge for Sharon to hold that seat.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but we're still looking at 0 precincts reported, right?
No, there's quite a bit of votes on that.
Really? Okay.
Yeah.
This has 16 of 16 partially reporting.
Okay.
One interesting thing about that race that I heard is that her family or she just opened
Which
some
one?
kind of Sharon.
Okay.
They started selling. They got a liquor license and they're selling liquor on the edge of the Navajo reservation. And evidently, people in the area were up in arms about that. So I don't know if that's going to affect the race or not. But they had a party for Anthony a week or so ago, and several hundred people went, and then they were able to go early vote.
Okay.
So they were working that pretty hard.
Yeah, so Richard, in that district, this is House District 4, Navajo, Shiprock area. 3,147 people have voted already. We've got that many, so that's a pretty good number. Like I say, Anthony Allison, who's related to former Secretary of Indian Affairs, Cabinet Secretary Arthur Allison, related to him. He is leading 51.4 to 48.6.
We're still tight, but Democrats hold the edge just in registration.
Yeah, but Sharon's a Republican
Right,
Navajo.
right.
You don't see her.
But she's been popular.
And she's been.
Yeah.
How many terms?
Oh, at
She's
least
in
at
3 or
least
4 terms
2
now?
or 3.
Yeah.
You know, this is an interesting seat because this should be a Democratic seat on paper.
You would think.
And in the last redistricting, I think the Democrats were so confident they could hold it. They moved in a lot of Republican precincts from the Farmington area. And Sharon came in as a Republican, utilized those Republican precincts in Farmington, and she's been able to hold on to this seat as a Republican because of redistricting.
Right. And,
So-
and San Juan County tends to be very Republican, Farmington, Aztec, Shiprock.
That's right,
Or
that's
not,
right. So
Not
this is-
necessarily Shiprock.
This is a
But
key,
Kirtland,
this is a key
Bluefield.
race. This is one of those key
Okay.
7
All right.
that will determine the makeup of the
But right now, slightly blue
Yep.
in terms of the 7 that. Let me clarify real quickly here, JD, because you said 7 Democrats need to hold their seats, 7 Republicans need to hold their seats, but
Hold
that
their ground. That includes the open seats
that
are
still
currently-
leaves the House in control of Democrats.
Well, the worst case scenario for the Democrats would be they
To
lose
lose.
all of their seats.
No, I agree.
Which isn't going to happen.
That would not change anything, assuming both columns remain intact, correct?
If they all hold their ground, you will have the status quo, which is 38 Democrats to 32 Republicans.
Right.
It's pretty
Fairly
tight.
slim. Fairly slim.
It is fairly slim. So,
Okay.
But that includes the open seats where some people have left, and we have new candidates that are trying to hold it for the current party.
So right now, you've called one Democratic seat,
Joseph Sanchez,
which was an easy one,
easy.
and then the one in Shiprock right now leaning slightly blue. J.D. Bullington, Inez Russell Gomez, and Loveless Johnson III, along with Richard Eads here on Talk 1260 and 103.7 KTRC, our 2018 general election coverage. All right, so we're looking at some results are coming in statewide. We had right at 7 o'clock, before we switched over to ABC, we had on CNN, and at the stroke of 7, they called Martin Heinrich's race for Martin Heinrich. Didn't give Mick Rich, didn't give Gary Johnson any respect at all. Lovelace, what have you found?
Well, we've got some interesting results. First big test for the Democrats in the U.S. Senate race. In a state where Donald Trump won by 42%, Senator Joe Manchin has handily retained his seat in the U.S. Senate.
All right, I guess that's overall a good thing for Democrats. He's not a very popular Democrat, given his vote in the Senate Judiciary hearings, but he's a Democrat, so that's a needed save by
Yes,
Democrats, right?
Very critical save, and it actually represents, Richard, a bit of a bellwether, because as we know, all of the Democrats in what we would call red states, those were the primary targets for the Senate, the Republican Senate Campaign Committee, and West Virginia, starting out this year, was considered the easiest pickup for the Republicans in their quest to take those red state seats back. And with Manchin winning as convincingly as he has, in a state where Trump won by 42 points,
right.
I think that says a lot about the mood of the country right now.
And that one has been called for.
Manchin. Yeah, reelected.
All right.
And the Florida race is now literally 49.9.
Gubernatorial?
Florida gubernatorial, 49.9 DeSantis, 48.9 Gillum.
Okay.
Nail biter with, but the race is almost over. They're estimating 98% of the vote is in. So now we're down to the urban districts that are high volume that haven't come in yet to see how this race is going to come out. With 98% precincts reported.
With about a 1% advantage for the Republican DeSantis.
With a 1% advantage for DeSantis.
Although the polls had Gillum up by 5-6 points.
Right. And but Miami-Dade County, Broward, not in yet.
Hanging Chad. That's all I think of when I hear Broward County. JD?
Right.
I just want to let you know we are getting numbers now on the governor's race,
Ours.
attorney general, and these big top statewide races. So far, it looks like a lot of Republican precincts have come in. We have almost 26,000 votes reported in the governor's race.
Yes.
And Pierce is leading 59.27 to over Michelle Lujan Grisham 40.73. We know
It's like 59-41.
Yeah, we know that's going to change because just a few precincts are coming in. But across the board, so far, the Republicans are leading in all of these races, which we know will change. So just want to let you know the numbers are coming in. We're going to watch those.
Do we have a way, JD, to ascertain whether Bernalillo County has come in, whether Santa Fe County has come in, kind of what the districts are? Is there a way to break that down?
Yeah, I'll go right to the Bernalillo County website right now and start monitoring that. But it should be on.
Because I mean, that's
it should, when they come in,
right.
that should go right to the Secretary of State.
Right. But if they're already in, then
They're not.
Michelle Lujan Grisham is in big trouble.
Okay. No way.
All right. So, but we're getting some numbers right now, early statewide, and C. Pierce is ahead about 59-41 over Michelle Lujan Grisham. Lovelace, what do you got?
Well, an update who with 58% of the vote in Texas, 49.7% apiece for Ted Cruz and Beto O'Rourke.
Exactly tied?
Exactly tied.
How much percentage is?
2,198,614 for Cruz. 2,197,071 for O'Rourke. They're in a dead heat, 49.7. 58% of the precincts reported.
Wow.
So that's close one. Missouri, looks like the Republicans are going to pick up 3 of their seats that they wanted from Democrats. Hawley is leading handily, but only 11% so far. So it's too early to call it Missouri, and as we know, they don't have early voting there. So everything in Missouri happened today. With 11% in, the Republican Hawley is up 57-39. In Indiana, with 67% reporting, the Republican Braun is up on Joe Donnelly 54% to 41.
And that's a Senate race as well.
And that is also a Senate race that the Republicans were really hoping to win. Florida Senate is also a dead heat. It's 50.3 to 49.7, with Bill Nelson trailing Governor Rick Scott so far.
JD.
And the governor's numbers, like we said, have already flipped. Now we have Michelle Lujan Grisham at 59% and Stephen Pierce at 41%. And that's with 150,000 votes gone already. So it's already flipped that fast. And now all the Democrat candidates at those top races. Maggie Toulouse Oliver is well on her way to win the Secretary of State's race. I think we can call that one. She's going to win.
Is the auditor's race going to be close? I thought it was going to be close. Sanderoff had it about over a 10-point lead for Brian Colon in polling.
Right now, Brian Colon is at 59% to 40.8% over Wayne Johnson. He's way ahead. But again, we have partial partial reporting.
Indeed. But so far, what do we know about, and I know, Inez, this was of interest to you, one of the big races that is of interest to me, and that's the state land commission. What do we have with state land commission?
Right now, Stephanie Garcia is ahead 52 to 42%.
10-point lead with, so about 150,000 votes as well.
Yeah, now that race is going to tighten up. You know, Pat Lyons has done well in the polls. He has never lost an election. He has won the state land office race twice. He wears a cowboy hat. And,
DRC race twice.
Yeah, and the northern New Mexico Hispanic Democratic ranchers relate to him.
He's a rural guy.
He is
he will win the rural and eastern side of the state.
Stephanie has her hands full here. He is a
she's going to have to run it up in Santa Fe, Bernalillo County.
That is exactly right, because Pat is going to. He's got oil and gas, and he's going to pull a lot of northern New Mexico.
And yes.
And I think that the thing that helped her when she beat Garrett Uniclausen in the primary is that women voted for her. And if women are voting in the numbers they seem to be, you know, buoyed by the possibility of electing Deb Haaland in Albuquerque or Xochitl Torres Smalls down south, Michelle Lujan Grisham as governor, there's going to be a lot of women voting. And I think that could help her maybe make up that deficit. Right. And she also has a ranching background, which people forget, but she's not a rancher like Pat Lyons is, but her family has ranched over by Tucumcari.
All right, it's 27 minutes after 7 o'clock. You're listening to the KTRC 2018 general election coverage. I'm Richard Dees, along with Loveless Johnson III, Inez Russell Gomez, and J.D. Bullington. Loveless, what do you got?
Well, we've got an update from a bellwether. I had 10 House races, Richard, that I thought would, you know, tell the story. National races that would tell the story nationally about how things would come out in the congressional races. And it looks like Kentucky, which I was watching because it was Andy Barr running against a former Marine fighter pilot, Amy McGrath. And she sounded as Republican as he did running, but she won the Democratic primary, but she fell short. Now, he had been winning elections since 2012, last two elections, 60% or more. And he barely squeaked by, 52 to 48 tonight in Kentucky. So
House District
6, Kentucky 6.
Right, so Democrats will not pick up that.
The Democrats will not pick up that bellwether seat.
Okay. It is coming up on the bottom of the hour. We are streaming. If you'd like to go watch what we're doing here, Loveless, tell people where they can find us live streaming video as well.
You can find us on Facebook and Instagram or YouTube. Just look for Call to Reason or Call to Reason Reality Talk Radio, and you can watch the streams there. We've also tagged Talk 1260, KTRC's Facebook page as well, so you can go there and watch it. You can find us on Twitter. The handle is Loveless in Beth. Loveless, the letter N, Beth. You can watch us live there, and we're also on YouTube at Call to Reason.
All right. As I mentioned, right as we took the air, CNN called the Senate race, the one Senate race here in New Mexico for Martin Heinrich, without even seeing any early absentee. So we can assume that's going to hold true. We're looking at some of the Hector Balderas just was picked as the winner in New Mexico by Brian Sanderoff and KOAT. Some of the numbers up there, JD, they're looking at like 4%, 5% reporting. Governor's race, they have 4%, so they're still behind with some of those. But they had Michael Vigil losing his Supreme Court race to the incumbent Klingman, but with only 4% vote. 4% have been counted so far. 4% of the precincts. We'll take a time out here at the bottom of the hour. We'll be back. We'll take a quick break here. You're listening to 2018 General Election coverage for KTRC Talk 1260 and 1037. We're streaming live at santafe.com, and we're streaming live video. We'll be right back at Talk 1260 and 1037.
Richard,
You're running a little hot.
I'll
turn you down a little bit.
I'll
Turn
come
down
back.
a little bit.
More. Hey, Richard.
Yes, sir. What?
70% of the vote in
Where?
Texas.
Uh-huh.
Beto O'Rourke up 2 points.
It's still all about where the vote is, though.
Well, no. Well, if you, especially in big states like this, Richard, the later in the vote count,
You're thinking cities.
The more cities, that's how it works.
Because the tiny little county precincts come in really quick.
Yeah. And so, it's in Texas, because I've campaigned in Texas, the way it flows in, you talking about podunk, 2 voters in 1 precinct, 2 ranchers connected, that's a precinct.
Right.
Those come in, then the suburban vote, then the urban vote. And it's trending right now with Beto, with Cruz trying to play catch up as the tail end of the suburban and urban tail end of suburban vote starts coming. Now we're just waiting on the urban. Cruz is in trouble, bro.
Beto's going to take Dallas. He's going to take San Antonio.
He's going to take Houston. He's going to take
Houston.
Austin.
Houston is bluish.
Oh yeah, it's
Oh
blue.
yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
The city
They have a lesbian
of
mayor.
Houston. Yeah, they have a lesbian mayor. Austin,
Nothing says liberal like a lesbian.
El Paso, of course, because he's from there, which normally would go red.
Sure.
I mean,
Sure.
he's
But
set
not
up
Lubbock or
just right.
Abilene or Amarillo.
Oh, not Midland or Odessa either.
No. No.
Nothing in the Panhandle.
Although I bet my niece voted for
Yeah, but
Where's she?
him in Odessa. And my nephew's in Austin.
Why?
Why?
Why is she in Odessa?
Because my brother stayed in Texas when we moved home.
are they in the oil business?
No, he's a bus driver. He just stayed. He lives in Lubbock.
So
No,
this is a lot of fun.
Really?
I'm having a blast.
Anybody need anything?
No, it's just hard
Coffee?
to.
I'll come get it because I
Did
doctor
you see
it.
this? If you hit
Right now?
this, oh yeah, please. When you get the statewide results, you can click that county thing and it tells you everybody's voting, what's in. You can't
Like
see
the
that.
map?
Yeah, not the map, but it just gives you. If you go to where United States Senator is, it says county results, and you click that, and
Oh.
it tells you all the counties.
Cool.
So it's possible.
Well, can you keep an eye on the clock? Make sure we're not approaching 7:34.
Okay, we're at 7:32 right now, Richard.
You need a charger? Oh.
No complaints from the boss.
Yeah, CNN is unreliable. I need to find some different national results. Because they're showing New Mexico, they're still showing Pierce up big. And we know now it's
CNN is?
already.
Just the Secretary of State has Michelle already by a bunch.
Yeah, they've got Pierce up 58-41 on CNN, and that's not real time.
No, it's
So
59 to 40 right
Georgia
now.
could be closer too. I'll check in with Beth. I'll go into a few different
Let's
sites.
see here. District 46. Nothing reported.
God. That one is just, let's see what my little Dylan says.
Montague was in big trouble.
Really? All right. Let's
Yeah,
come back with that,
we
okay?
have 3,000 people reporting. All precincts are doing partial reporting.
There we
She's
go.
down 58 to 42.
All right, here we go.
She's going to lose
Oh, good.
And we are back. It's 34 minutes after 7 o'clock. You're listening to KTRC's 2018 general election coverage. I'm Richard Eads, your host today, along with Inez Russell Gomez from the Santa Fe, New Mexican lobbyist, J.D. Bullington, and Loveless Johnson III. Does some political consulting and has called a reason right here in Talk About 61037 on Sunday mornings, 8 a.m. until 10 a.m. Mostly national politics with his co-host, Beth Cope, who will join us soon, probably from Atlanta, Georgia, at the Stacey Abrams, hopefully, victory party. JD, right before we came back, you said that a Republican state representative is in trouble. Now, this is not the first time she's been in trouble.
No.
She was in trouble a little while ago, but that was with a law. We're talking about Monica Youngblood.
She's in a little bit of different trouble tonight. Yeah, she is one of those 7 seats that the Republicans need for these people to hold their ground.
She's in District.
This is House District 68. This is a West Side Albuquerque
Okay.
district. a Republican seat, a strong Republican seat, but her DWI issues looks like they're coming home to roost. We have there's 14 precincts in that district. All of them are partially reporting. We have a long way to go.
Okay.
But she's down 58 to 42%, and that is an awfully huge margin for over 3,000 people who voted. She's in real trouble. That gap is abnormally large. Shouldn't be that big.
Who's the Democrat?
The Democrat is Karen Bash. She is a retired Unitarian minister. She didn't go negative on Monica. It was all the outside money that came in and did the negative ads. You know, she's not very well known. No one took her very seriously. But the DWI that Monica got in May has changed everything. And for her to be down 58% to 42% with partial reporting from all precincts, that is not looking good.
Hindsight, maybe the Republican Party have replaced her, and she should maybe step aside, let them nominate somebody else.
Well, it's her call. You know, you can lead the horse to water. You can go drink.
That's right. All right, Loveless, what do we know? Do we know anything out of Georgia in terms of their gubernatorial race, a closely watched race?
Yes, we do, Richard. Right now, according to CNN, I'm looking at CNN's website here. Brian Kemp, the Secretary of State, is up 55 to 43 with about half the vote in.
Wow.
About half the vote in, he's up.
12 point
But
lead.
again, Georgia is very much like Texas. We were talking about that during the commercial break. By the way, folks, with 70%
In Texas.
in Texas.
You ready for this?
70% of the vote in, Beto O'Rourke leading by 2 percentage points.
Okay.
And like
Whereas
Texas,
I think, it's still anybody's race because it's such a gigantic
Yeah.
state geographically.
Mhm.
You've been there and you've campaigned there. For
I have. And in Texas, very much like in Georgia, the urban areas and the rural areas are so philosophically different, but so demographically different in terms of context and the voter totals and the way the vote comes in. It very much is in 3 distinct stages, starting with rural votes where you have very small counties, very small precincts. That vote comes in early.
So they have no votes to count. They report
Yeah,
automatically.
no votes to count. They come in very quickly.
Okay.
Then you got the suburban voters where you have very large populations, but the precinct, there are multiple precincts because of all these school districts. And so the votes are spread out, even though they're dense, they're spread out. And those votes come in second. And then, of course, the urban vote, which are the most dense votes, come in last. So in Texas, for example, when you're north of 70% and and you're ahead, and you're Beto O'Rourke in Texas, and you know that Dallas and Houston and Austin and San Antonio and El Paso, where you're from,
Right.
those big urban areas have not. That's the 27% we're still waiting for in
Okay.
Florida.
You think most of that is in the cities, is in the big
I'd
population
be willing
centers.
to guess based on experience it is, Richard. And the
Oh,
same thing in
okay.
Georgia. So although the Georgia Secretary of State, Brian Kemp, is up right now by about 7
12
points.
7 points.
Listen, when Atlanta comes in, that thing could flip so fast, it would be ridiculous.
Okay. JD,
Richard, we have another Republican in the House, a Republican incumbent who is in some pretty big trouble.
who is
This
that?
is Republican Jimmy Hall. He is an Albuquerque area lawmaker. His opponent is a hotshot Democratic candidate who had a lot of support from the Santa Fe area, Melanie Stansberry. We have 68% of the vote in that district, which is more than 2/3. And Jimmy Hall, this is a Republican district, by the way, Jimmy Hall is down 54% to 46%. That gap also is abnormally large. With that much of a vote in, he's in trouble.
That's big.
So far, JD, you've told us about 3 Republicans out of the 7 you had highlighted that are in trouble.
Yes, these are 3 of the 7. That the race, the Shiprock race is close.
Right. Still very
I wouldn't
close?
say Sharon's in trouble yet. It's just close.
Okay.
But Jimmy Hall and Monica Youngblood are in trouble.
Okay. Any of the 7 Democrats that you kind of highlighted that are having trouble with their races so far?
No, they all look pretty good. In fact, Liz Thompson is an Albuquerque Democrat. This is one of the most swing districts in the seat. It has gone back like windshield wipers. Every 2 years it goes Republican, Democrat, Republican, Democrat. But she is up considerably. She is up 59 to 41%. And she has over 1,000 vote, 1,400 vote lead against Republican challengers Trey Stephen Morris. This is looking very, very good for the Democrats to hold that seat, and that is one of their 7.
And just to be clear, Liz Thompson, that would be a re-election for her.
That is a re-election.
She's
for
an
her.
educator, right?
But I can see a trend right now. I can see enough, Richard. It's going to be a good night for Democrats. The question is it going to be a great night? But it looks like it's going to be.
Within New Mexico.
Within New Mexico and the State House.
All right. Inez, the closely watched land commissioner race, has the total changed at all in the race between Stephanie Garcia Richard and Pat Lyon?
It looks like she's still ahead at 50.51%, 44.6 for Pat Lyons, and that's about 9,000 votes. She's at 82, and he's at 73.
Out of
163 cast. The Libertarian has 7,000, almost 8,000 votes.
Right, 163,000 total votes cast.
Yes, yes.
And I mean, we're looking at statewide. We're looking at upwards of
At 650 at least, something like that.
600,000 to 700,000 votes, right?
Yeah. So this is
So
very
we're
early.
we're 500, 500,000 votes shy of where we'll be at the end of the night.
Right.
That race is going to tighten up, but again, with half of the precincts partially reporting, for Stephanie to be up that high, that's good sign for her.
Okay, during the break, J.D. Billington, Inez Russell Gomez, and Loveless Johnson III, along with Richard Eads, you're listening to 2018 general election coverage on KTRC 1260-103 and PremiumSantaFe.com. During the break, Inez discovered that we could actually, in some of these races, click on and see which counties have reported. Say in the Land Commissioner race, can we look and Bernalillo County come in, Doña County come in, Santa Fe County come in?
Bernalillo is here partially. So they have 441 precincts in Bernalillo, and 441 are partially reported.
Okay.
So she's way ahead. Stephanie is in Bernalillo at 56.18. Chavez County, which is all reported, it's all in, and he's way ahead, 69 to 25.
That's expected.
That's expected. But it doesn't look like
Santa Fe County won't come in until after midnight or sometime like next Monday.
Rio Arriba has 42 of 42, and she is way ahead in Rio Arriba, 65.7 to 29.2. And I think there was some fear that the rural ranchers would be more comfortable with a natural rancher, and Hispanic men wanted a man, and that's not seeming to be the case. She's holding very well up there.
Interesting.
Yeah, we had a letter to the editor from retired magistrate judge in Taos, Emilio Martinez, who said, we had him before, we didn't like him, we want Stephanie. And he's also a rancher and had a lot of clout up in Taos.
He's influential up there? All right, so that helps her. JD, what do you got?
A race we haven't talked about that has national significance, and this is the congressional race for the Albuquerque area. Deborah Holland has a commanding lead. We have almost 126,000 votes reported in that district, and she is up 60% to 36.
Over Janice Arnold Jones.
I expect that race probably will be called soon, and if it is, she will be the first Native American woman ever elected to the U.S. House of Representatives.
From Laguna.
Pueblo.
Right.
And she'll be a guest on Call a Reason. We've already set her up to be on Call a Reason.
Nice plug.
Either this Sunday or next.
Okay.
Yeah, as a victorious
Good.
candidate. I want to give folks an update on some of the national news right now.
Please do, Lois.
Overall, the House in the race to 218, the House are at 89 seats confirmed, picked up. They've won so far. The Republicans have won 87 seats, so it's a close race to 218 right now. The House, Senate not so close. In the race to 50. The Republicans are sitting on 44 seats and the Democrats 37. And let me just say the Republicans have picked up all of the key wins they needed from Democrats so far. They won Missouri.
Senate.
They won Missouri in the Senate.
Indiana.
They won in Indiana. They only lost West Virginia. Joe Manchin survived in West Virginia, but it looks like Hawley has handily beat McCaskill in Missouri. It looks as if though Braun has handily beat Donnelly in Indiana.
Right.
It appears that both Senator Nelson and Andrew Gillum are going to go down in Florida.
You're kidding.
Very, very close races. One a point difference in each one. Less than a point in the Senate race. Florida Senate is 50.4 to 49.6 with 98% precincts reported. And we are Texas though. Cruz now has pulled back ahead by 1/2 of a percentage point with 74% in. Richard, I told you those suburban counties are now flowing in Texas. Cruz is getting his share of the,
Beto's going to have to carry the cities then.
and he will.
Inez?
There's a guy named Henry Olson who I follow on Twitter,
Okay.
who's a really good prognosticator. He's the one who picked up Trump before anybody did, winning last time 2 years ago. And he just called Florida for John Scott because he says there's not enough votes in Broward, Miami, and Palm Beach to get the 76,000 votes he's behind. So he says that eliminates the possibility of Democratic Senate control. So that is something people kind of expected, but were hoping for a different outcome if you were a Democrat. But it wasn't anything surprising.
For DeSantis to win governor of Florida, I'm surprised.
No, this is Scott for Florida.
Oh, I'm not
no,
surprised.
no. People thought the Republicans would probably keep control of the Senate. It just depends by how much. And I don't know if 76,000 is close enough in Florida for recount or not.
All right, so just to recap, this gentleman is saying that Rick Scott is going to beat the incumbent, Bill Nelson.
Yes.
And I'd say that that's an accurate trend based on the other major seats the Democrats needed to hold. They've called the race for Marsha Blackburn in Tennessee as well. That was a seat that the Democrats were hoping to pick up.
With Breslin, former governor.
Yeah, Breslin, he's out. So the Republicans have held their own where they needed to hold so far tonight. And they have actually won the vulnerable seats from the Democrats that they needed to win. Now, we're still waiting to see what happens in Montana. But Heidi Heitkamp has lost her race as well. So has Claire McCaskill.
Have those been called?
They've been called. Yeah.
McCaskill and Heitkamp both lose.
McCaskill and Heitkamp both lose. And now we're waiting to see.
Now we're looking at
Tester,
probably 52-48, something like that.
It could be 53. Now, we're still waiting on a critical race in Arizona between Sinema and McSally. And, of course, that's nothing's in yet because the polls are still open in Arizona. But, that race could hold the line a bit for the Democrats. It's still looking good for Kristen Sinema in Arizona. And, of course, it looks very good for John Tester in Montana. I don't think the Republicans are going to be able to take that one because the like West Virginia, Richard, Montanans are very particular, and the Republican that's running against Tester is a realtor and a developer. And you know how ranchers feel about developers in a place like New Mexico or Montana.
Depending if they're trying to develop your land for as much as you were hoping to get for it. And then you're pretty lovey-dovey with it.
All the commentary I've heard said Tester's going to win, and I think he is.
Bullington.
We have another update on the State House, and guess what? We have 2 more Republican seats in trouble.
Really?
Yep. Incumbent David Adkins, a Republican, is losing his race currently 42% to 58%. Again, that margin is awfully big.
This is
House District 29. This is an Albuquerque seat near I-25 and Jefferson, right in that area.
Right. Journal Pavilion area.
Yeah, Journal Pavilion area. So we have 2,753 votes already in, and he is, trailing by, 400 or 300 votes. That margin shouldn't be that high.
And the Democrat is?
The Democrat is Joy Garrett. Now, I knew she'd be a tough opponent because she's a Democratic candidate, and she ran for the overlapping Senate district a couple years ago. And she did pretty well. She lost it, but she does have name ID.
She picked up some name ID in that race.
Yeah. The other Republican seat that's in trouble is an open seat. The House minority Republican floor leader, Nate Gentry, retired.
Right.
Many people thought that this seat might flip Democratic, and here's what it's looking like. With 8,000 votes in, which is a lot, John Jones, the husband of
Janice Arnold Jones.
Janice Arnold Jones,
Running for Congress.
he is losing 42 to 58%.
Democrat is?
8,000 votes. The Democrat is Natalie Figueroa, who ran 2 years ago and almost beat Nate Gentry.
That's right.
I strongly expect this seat to flip Democrat.
So, just
we've got 4 Republican seats that are on the edge of TV.
I thought maybe it was 5, but we'll go with 4. J.D. Billington. Loveless Johnson III.
Well, Richard,
Give me some good news.
I am a fair and balanced guy. You know, us at Call the Reason, we always try to hear from everybody.
All right.
So
All
I
the
just for
reason now
fun,
on
just
Fox
for fun,
here.
thanks to Inez, I've gone over to the Fox News. I'm on the Fox News website now. And the Fox News folks are predicting that the Democrats have won the House of Representatives. Their exit polling and everything they're projecting,
Dems take House.
the Democrats
Live blog.
have
Fox
taken
News predict Democrats will capture House of Representatives.
Fox News.
I
Folks.
could have a heart attack right now.
So, in other words, there's a fresh bag of cheeseburgers on the way to the White House because we know what election coverage is being watched at 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue residence. And so he's hearing, and you know why they called it so quickly? Because he does need to go to bed. Because he has to wake up at 3 to start tweeting. He's got to wake up at 3 to start tweeting.
All right, we've gone to the commentary.
I've got a question for Loveless. So,
Yes.
some experts were predicting the Democrats could, they need 218 to have a
Yes.
majority. And I've seen a prediction as high as that they could get to 227.
I think
You have
235 is where they're going to
Is
end up.
that
Yeah, I think they're going to end up at 235 they could get to because, again, I was there when all of us pundits, although I wasn't one then, all of us, they were always, remember 94? And everyone predicted maybe Newt Gingrich's contract with America may pull it off and it would be modest at best. Remember what a rout it was? I think that we're about to see something similar.
Well, that would be interesting. We had the discussion today with John Lawrence, used to be chief of staff for Nancy Pelosi, and written a book called Class of '74, the first congressional class post-Watergate. And he said, if the Democrats do take control of the House, he sees the class coming in for the Democrats as being, in some ways, similar to the post-Watergate class in Congress, but maybe younger, more diverse, and maybe in some ways a lot better class than came in post-Watergate. Of course, driving a lot of the national conversation, of course, this election conversation being driven by the President Donald Trump. So this would be a pretty stunning development for the President and the White House, though it looks like they may pick up seats in the Senate at the end of the night, and that would inoculate him at least from impeachment. But if the House is under Democratic control, of course, then subpoena investigation and all that. Lovelace, you have more news? Or
One interesting race in Mississippi, the Mississippi U.S. Senate race.
Okay.
Primary election, there's going to be a runoff now. And it is between Mike Espy, the Democrat, challenging incumbent Cindy Hyde-Smith. And it's for the open seat, and no candidate, the Republican could not get 50% of the vote. It was a 4-person race. They had a Libertarian and an Independent. And the Republican could not top 50%. And that speaks volumes about how committed non-traditional voters are in this cycle.
JD, the race that Brad Winter is in, the city councilor, I don't know if he's going to keep the city council seat, the former Secretary of State for a couple months, filling in for the incarcerated Diana Durand. He is winning, but is very tight in that. Is that a Republican seat? And that was a seat that was given up by
Sarah Maestas Barnes.
Right.
A very strong Republican incumbent. She's a Hispanic Republican, and Hispanic Republicans do pretty well. They do. But she left that seat open. Brad Winter, former Secretary of State, former superintendent of the Albuquerque Public School District,
one of the
city councilor
3 or 4 headed
Albuquerque.
superintendents. Right?
Yes, married to a prominent Democrat who's an attorney for the Bernalillo Albuquerque Water Authority. He's a very strong candidate. He is leading 51, actually 50.57%.
It's really tight there. It's about
It's
60%.
super tight. He's got a tough challenger, Democratic Dane Hoffman, who's a young attorney. This race will go down to the wire. We have almost 6,000 votes in that district, and this race is basically 50-50. Brad Winter, 2,948 votes to 2,881. It's an urban district,
Right.
so those precincts are all similar.
But in that race, Brad Winter would have 100% name ID because
Yes.
of all the different positions he's held. Everybody in the district knows him.
He has huge name ID, but we are seeing again a trend where women candidates are doing well. Stephanie Garcia Richard doing well. Melanie Stansberry looks like she's going to knock off Jimmy Hall.
Right.
So
Monica Youngblood, not doing so well.
Well, she's running against a woman, but
Right.
that's not a the women's dynamics aren't right now. It's a
Law enforcement issue.
It's a law enforcement issue.
Inez, you have news?
I'm just still looking at legislative seats like he is. Abis Akil, would be the first Muslim to be elected to the State House of Representatives in New Mexico, is ahead just by a little bit at this point, by about 60 votes.
Where is that race?
It's against Jim Dines in Albuquerque.
Oh, yeah.
That is Tramway and Central, Four Hills area.
Right.
It is, I think Tajaras is in that district too, maybe. Now, I will
The village
tell you,
of Tajaras.
this would be a real upset because I will tell you what the voter registration is there. It is, actually, I don't have it in front of me.
But Dines has been in the House for a number of years, and
Yeah.
well known. Chairman of, I think, the Courts and Judicial Committee, looking at things like the Ethics Commission, things like that.
Very well respected. This is a candidate who was actually endorsed by Barack Obama when he did all of his lower level races across the country, and people in Santa Fe have had fundraisers for him. So he's very progressive, and it's somebody that Democrats have backed.
His name again is?
Abbas Akil.
Okay.
Now, this would be an upset. This district is 35% Republican to 39% Democrat. A Republican district in New Mexico is basically anything over 30%.
Right.
So,
Because they get out to vote.
yeah, for the Republican to lose this seat in a midterm election is huge. This is outside of the 7 that I picked. This is clearly an upset territory.
All right. Anybody have a speculation why we have no early absentee voting for races in Santa Fe? Zero. Nothing reporting.
We have nothing in Santa Fe. We don't have any.
Trujillo,
county commission
Egoff.
race,
I mean, none of these races we have zero reporting.
Yeah, and we're showing Matt McQueen down in his race against the independent Jared Applewhite. Of course, he's the El Dorado district
Right.
that goes into Moriarty and all that.
Right. Galsdale Basin.
But yeah, Galsdale Basin. But because there's no Santa Fe numbers in, that's why this race is upside down.
Once again, one of these days we will find a way to eventually modernize Santa Fe County voting. Somehow it has to do with getting all the votes and then putting them in a satchel, putting them on the borough. You have to feed the borough, water the borough, and then walk the borough downtown and then empty out and feed and water again. And then we start to count the votes. Is that, Inez, is that fairly accurate?
It'll all be
You're
there.
you're
It'll all be there. One of the things in the Commissioner of Public Lands race is it's tightened again. So it's 91 for Stephanie Garcia Richard and 89.7 for Patrick Lyons. So now we're at 48 to 47. So it's very close. Michael Lucero has got 4.8. He could be the spoiler, depending on how you look at it, in that race. And Bernalillo is partially here. But again, Santa Fe's not here, and I expect Stephanie will do well in Santa Fe.
Absolutely.
So,
All right. Coming up at the top of the hour, you're listening to the 2018 General Election coverage for Talk 1260 and 1037 KTRC. We'll take a break here for the national news top of the hour. We will take a break and we'll come back and we'll look at some of the results coming in and then start to reach out to some of our contributors via phone. I'm Richard Eads, along with Loveless Johnson III, Inez Russell Gomez, and J.D. Bullington. We'll be back on Talk 1260 and 1037. Okay, so we have about 6 minutes.
Nelson is tightening it back up, but I don't know if
Better
there's
get a
enough
call,
left.
right?
It has not been called.
Yeah, well,
Which one?
the one that
Florida.
So,
Oh.
your blogger called.
governor's race, 204,000 people recording votes. You say
Because
that's a
he
lot.
believes, based on what
That's-
he knows.
You know,
Well,
based on a
that's-
voter turnout of 650, we'll probably get close to a third of the vote in
Yeah.
for the governor's race. And no surprise, Michelle Lott, 54 to 46, just like
Here you
he
go.
said. I expect that race
A
to be-
Democrat won in Kansas, though. Yes.
The
I
governor's
expect-
race?
Oh, back
Deborah Holland
on.
Not
got
the
called.
governor's
Deborah Holland got called.
Yes.
Really?
MSN just called it for Kelly. Oh, that just makes me so happy.
Yeah.
What a
Um,
rat.
Yeah.
Beat, what's his name? Norbuck?
Kovac.
Kovac.
The stealer of votes.
Oh yeah,
That's right.
she's up by 9 points, dude. 96%. Yeah.
By how many votes? By how many percent?
9. She crushed him. Dude.
So we have Ben Ray Lujan's race has been called for Ben Ray,
Yeah,
and Deborah
yeah,
Holland's been
yeah,
called.
yeah.
So that's
Okay.
nice.
So she's the first.
Native American.
Yeah. Oh, it's so cool.
They're going to call Michelle's race soon, I guarantee you.
What about the one I'm really concerned about is the one down south. How is Xochitl doing?
That's going to be a tough one.
I don't think so. I mean, if Harry T could have pulled it off in 08, I think Xochitl has a much stronger chance than
She's a great
going
candidate.
up against the owner of K-Bobs. That wouldn't be easy to answer. Oh, you remember that?
Yeah, Social is down.
Cologne is up 27%.
She's down 50,
Cologne is up.
54 to
Cologne is
40.
up.
She's down 54 to 46, but there's not much in. There's 501 precincts, only 257 are partially recorded.
And they
So
were
That's
voting.
going to go all over the place.
They had polls
Las
going.
Cruces isn't up,
No, Doña Annie has almost nothing.
so that's where
She's going to get a huge bump in
Oh,
Doña Amazon.
carry her over.
And she
And
is.
so will, well, that's really what she has to count on. Because Coro's not going to be with her. Neither will,
Catherine's not in.
Sierra County won't be with her.
Cibola de
Neither will
Baca,
Catherine.
So right now, all the bonds are way up.
and I think the Ethics Commission is passing.
It is up a lot, 75 to 25. Holy smokers! Constitutional Amendment 1 is that, and that moves our. No, that's the legislative for county
That's
result.
the one about the appeals, and constitutional too is the ethics. I wonder how the Santa Fe City
That's what I was
amendment
wondering.
is doing.
The election thing,
Yeah,
moving the election.
but since we don't have results, we won't know.
Well, we have to wait for the boroughs to get downtown.
I'll tell you one thing: we didn't have lines. It was lovely to go vote wherever you wanted. It was so nice.
I voted at the county building, and it was fast. The people were super nice.
Really?
I voted
Nice.
early, but I took Joaquin.
I
Yeah, I
voted early
voted
too.
last Saturday.
So, yeah, that's.
Okay, so we're bleeding into the.
You want to get Beth on the phone or anything?
Sure, we can get her on the phone. Let me just. She's waiting for Gino to call her, so just ask him to call her. And when he gets her on the phone, tell her to get on the Facebook stream too.
Yeah, there's only one Democratic coming in trouble from State House, George Dodge is in trouble.
That's right.
This is a weird race. This is Larry Leonard. Boy, Jimmy Hall.
And that Velasquez girl is beating that crazy doctor at this
Yeah,
point, but that's early.
That district is so.
It's a weird one, but
That district is 41% Republican to 36% Democrat. There's no way Republican loses that race. There's
he's
no
a
way.
little out there though.
He's very,
He's from Texas.
yeah.
I think he went to Tech Medical School.
But
Oh, that's early though.
there's only four votes in.
I was like,
It was tied though.
Jared, oh come on.
Yeah.
I don't want Jared to win.
What do you think,
Yeah,
Applewhite?
He's nice and he was good in the school board, but you don't. It's really hard. I don't know how you get new stuff.
This is a Democrat, George Dodge, incumbent Democrat, down 56-44. He's in trouble. This is a Santa Rosa district.
Oh.
He is the county manager for Guadalupe County. But Democrats with redistricting put a lot of Clovis precincts in there.
Right.
Martin Zamora, again, a Hispanic Republican. Probably going to beat George Dodge.
I wonder which Zamoras he's from. The two Zamoras on the appeals court, if they both win, are not related.
No, I don't think. Martin Zamora related to him. So 16% voting in that thing. I know they've done that.
I mean, that's way up though.
But you can call that's not answered. Governor's race,
You want to
27%
call her and
of
tell her
voting.
that Gino's trying to get hold of her? That's not answered. Maybe she saw your number come up.
NBC is saying the Dems have a 95% chance of taking the House, but Fox already called it. They just need 12 more seats. That's good.
So someone should, Richard, you should probably say Deborah Holland has been rated on that. We call those, get those off of our plate.
Open call.
And Michelle Humphrison is up 56 to 44% of the peers.
So CD1, CD3 been called. CD2 is actually
We'll go down to the
fairly big lead for Yvette Harrell right now, but expected to tighten. Now Ben's CD3. Judicial districts and congressional districts should be required to be the same.
Look at Early Bird in Bernalillo County. That tells you a lot. Okay. Yes.
Ethics Commission is going to pass.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. So let's see.
That's amazing. 40,000 people.
So I'll do the CD races and then the amendments.
It could be Beth calling us.
But that's the
That's not
It could be Beth calling us.
Okay, we are back. KTRC's 2018 general election coverage. We are really wrapped up in coverage. It is now 7 minutes after 8 o'clock. I am here, Richard Eads, here with Loveless Johnson III, Inez Russell Gomez, J.D. Bullington, and we're looking at all these different races. So let me just tell you some of the things that transpired during the break at the top of the hour. The Congressional District number 1, New Mexico, Deb Haaland has been declared the victor. That would make her the first Native American Hispanic congressional winner candidate, congressperson. Deb Haaland has been declared the winner. Ben Ray Lujan has been declared the winner in Congressional District number 3. In Congressional District number 2, still fairly early in that, Yvette Harrell has a substantial lead, but we expect that to tighten substantially. Looking at some of the issues, Constitutional Amendment number 1, which is to give the legislature authority. The county results provide for appellate jurisdiction by statute. That is up 56 to 44% for Constitutional Amendment number 1. Constitutional Amendment number 2, which is the Ethics Commission, that is winning by 74 to 26%, so that will pass. Bond issue A is up, and that is Capital Projects General Obligation Bond. That is up by 70 to 30%. Bond question number B, that is a Capital Project General Obligation Bond for 2018. That is up 68 to 32%. 4, bond question C, which is Capital Project General Obligation Bond. Also, that is 4, winning 68 to 32%. And bond question D, which is Capital Projects for schools like Santa Fe Community College, Northern New Mexico College, and CNM schools like that. That is winning by, bond question D is winning 64.5% to 35.5%. So that brings you up to date on the CD races as well as the constitutional amendments. Inez, what have you got?
Again, on CD2, Heath Houseman is a reporter down south, and what he's saying is that Yvette has the lead, but mostly red counties have reported in. Doña Annie and Grant are out, and that's when she's going to gain ground. Social Taurus. But Doña Ana County will be late because people are still in line voting.
Still right now?
59 seconds ago, so I assume
Good
so.
Great. Well, that means a high turnout at Doña Ana County,
Yes.
which could bode well, very well, for Torres Small.
Yes.
Correct?
Yeah, exactly. And it just means that we're not going to know for a while.
So that's where the substantial lead by Yvette Harrell is. All right, as Loveless Johnson III rejoins us, we have his co-host on Call to Reason Radio, which is Sunday mornings, 8 a.m. to 10 a.m. Beth Cope is online. Beth, good evening. How are things in Atlanta, Georgia? Yes. Well, Loveless?
Hey, Beth, how is it looking for Stacey in terms of the mood of the crowd? Do you feel like, you know, is the crowd satisfied with what they did today in Georgia?
All right.
Yeah, Beth, keep us posted. Keep us posted there from Georgia. When Stacey Abrams, when you think she's going to come out, make sure you call us in and get near a speaker so we can hear it. And our listeners, if you're watching us on Facebook, Beth is about to join the stream so we can get some visuals from the election headquarters as well. If you want you're watching us on Facebook, you'll be able to see it live because she's going to join our live stream
Well, that's exciting.
on split screen. Yeah, we'll get to see it.
Beth, thank you for the update. All right, appreciate it. It is coming up on 16 minutes after 8 o'clock. You're listening to the 2018 general election coverage on KTRC with Richard Eads, Loveless Johnson III, Inez Russell Gomez, and J.D. Bullington. J.D., you have both court races and legislative races in New Mexico updates.
Yes, real quickly. We haven't talked about Court of Appeals
No, we
and
have
Supreme
not.
Court yet,
Right.
so let's just give a real quick update on what that's looking like. Looking pretty good for the Democrats. For the Court of Appeals, Position 1, Democrat Christina Bogardus is up 51% over Republican Stephen French, 49%. That is a close race,
Yes.
really. Supreme Court, Michael Vigil, the Democrat, on his way to winning that seat. We have 204,000 votes, so that's getting close to a third of the vote count in, and he is up 55.2 to 44.8.
That's a real geographical split for those two candidates. Klingman is southern part of the state, appointed by Susana Martinez.
Correct.
Mike Vigil, very well known. Santa Fe is from this
Yeah,
area,
he's from here.
but lives in Albuquerque. Extremely well known in the legal community in Albuquerque. Of course, you take those two, population centers, that gives them a huge advantage.
A lot of votes still to come in, but he's got a good margin there.
Okay.
Court of Appeals, Position 2, Jacqueline Medina, the Democrat, doing very well. She's up 55.4 to Republican Hank Bonoff, 44.6, Democrat doing well. Also, Court of Appeals, Position 3, Brianna Zamora,
Okay.
doing very well at 55.6% over Emil King, and he was also appointed by Susana Martinez.
Right.
And Democrats doing very, very well there. Just one more, Megan Duffy, Democrat, for Court of Appeals, Position 4. We have lots of Court of Appeals races. She is up 53% to 46.9, so 47%. She is leading that race. Real quick, Richard, if I could give you a
Yes, sir.
legislative update.
Please.
For the State House of Representatives, it's starting to not look so great for Republicans, starting to look very good for the Democrats. So remember, I said there were 7 seats Republicans
Correct.
had to hold.
Last we heard, 4 were in trouble.
6 of them, 6 of the 7 are in trouble. Plus, we've got 2 potential upsets out there that the Democrats could pick up. So Republicans have 8 seats in trouble. And the Democrats only have 1.
The
George
one in-
Dodge, the Democrat who
near Santa
George
Rosa.
Dodge is the county manager of Guadalupe County. He lives in Santa Rosa. He's running against Republican Martin Zamora, again, Hispanic Republican. I
He's
told you
right, yes.
they tend to do
Indeed.
well. There's Clovis precincts in there. I think that's what we're seeing so far. But he is so far the only Democrat incumbent in the state house that is down. Republicans, though, look like they could take a bath.
Okay. Real quickly here before we go to Loveless, in the governor's race, Michelle Lujan Grisham and Howie Morales, 55.6%. Steve Pierce and Michelle Garcia Holmes, Republicans, with 44.4%. So about 11% lead for the Democrats in the gubernatorial race in New Mexico. Loveless, you have something, and then we're going to go down to Doña Ana County and talk to Senator Jeff Steinborn.
Okay, we got 2 quick gubernatorial race updates. One, a big defeat, crushing defeat in Kansas.
Boy, that's a huge.
Democrat Laura Kelly has been elected governor of Kansas over Secretary of State Chris Kobach, who was controlling the election.
That is amazing.
And it wasn't even close. It was a 10-point win for her. Now, in the Georgia governor's race, right now, with about 68% reporting,
Okay.
Brian Kemp, the Republican Secretary of State there, is up 55 to 43. Now, what's important about that is that there are over 300,000 provisional ballots being cast today by people he illegally purged from the rolls. The courts, the Georgia Supreme Court has ordered that all those votes must be counted. And so right now, his attempt to disenfranchise voters has backfired.
Correct.
And those votes are not included in these totals right now.
Okay.
And so they won't be counted until after the election. So you have to bank on an additional 300,000 suppressed votes coming in, and you got to know that 90% of those.
Plus, Beth just told us there's still precincts open in Georgia. That she is hoping. She's at the Abrams headquarters. They're hoping that somehow those are substantially for Stacey Abrams.
And let me put it in perspective. We're still so far out from really the numbers tightening to where there's no wiggle room left. Let me put it in perspective for everyone. Georgia, has about 7 million, 8 million voters. Georgia has about 7, 8 million voters. Half of them in the metro Atlanta area, Richard. Okay. Those are the precincts we're waiting to come in.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, let's head down to Las Cruces area, Doña Ana County, and talk with State Senator Jeff Steinborn. Senator, you with us? Hey, you're with me here in the studio, or Loveless Johnson III, Inez Russell Gomez from the New Mexican, and you may know the lobbyist from the Santa Fe area, J.D. Bullington. All right, Senator, what are you seeing? What are you hearing? What's kind of the mood down in Doña Ana County? You might be interested. Loveless just found that on CNN Politics, CNN is saying that Colorado is going to elect the first openly gay governor, Democrat Jared Polis, being called by CNN to be the next governor of Colorado. What do you think about that? We also have in Senator Steinborn, we also have in that a man who makes his home not too far from Las Cruces, Beto O'Rourke, has lost. ABC's News is calling now for Ted Cruz. No. Yep. Did you? I wasn't sure, Senator, if you were with us when J.D. Bullington just laid out the state house races. The Republicans are in trouble with about 8 of those, and one Democrat up near Santa Rosa is in trouble. So that would be, the way it stands now, it will change, but that'd be a gain of about 7 seats for the Democrats in the House. Well, some of those issues that the new governor is going to have to deal with if it is Michelle Lujan Grisham, are going to be things like teacher shortage. That's going to have to be an immediate concern. Rebuilding the mental and behavioral health care system, immediate concern. Other issues, but the good thing is, Senator, we're looking at some extra money of over $1 billion. So that's going to help to push those things along. I bet you are. Our guest is Senator Jeff Steinborn from Las Cruces, Doña Ana County. You're listening to the 2018 general election coverage on Talk 1260, 103.7 KTRC with Richard Eves, J.D. Bullington.
I have a question for Senator Steinborn.
Yes, sir.
Are you still there, Jeff? So one of the state house districts that we don't have any numbers on is the district where the husband of Xochitl Torres Small is running. Representative Nathan Small,
Which is Hatch.
which is the Hatch area, very northern Las Cruces, that's
Right.
right. We have no numbers on that at all. Have you heard anything about that race? How is Nathan Small doing, the Democratic incumbent versus David Costa, the Republican?
As we are with Santa Fe County numbers. Senator, we'll let you go. Thank you very much. We may reach out to you again a little later in the evening to get an update on that Congressional District 2 race, if you don't mind. Thank you, Senator. All right, just to recap, the congressional races CD1 has been called for Deb Haaland. Congressional District number 3 has been called for Ben Ray Lujan, and it looks like it's going to be a late night for Congressional District number 2. Governor's race still very, very strong, with about, I think, approaching 300,000 votes cast. We're looking at about an 11% advantage for Michelle Lujan Grisham and Howie Morales. Looking at some of the state races, we're still, I think, I haven't seen anything from Santa Fe County. Inez, what have you seen?
Nothing, and I sent some messages out to see if
Some
I can
feelers?
find out. I'm interested in how the municipal question is on the ballot. Santa Fe is asking
Moving
voters
our
to
election.
move our election to November, and since we don't have any local results, we can't find out. Stephanie Garcia Richard is out
They
ahead a
called
little
it. They
bit.
called it. Governor's race.
Governor's race. Okay, Michelle Lujan Grisham,
Has been called,
been
by
called.
ABC for
Sorry.
Michelle Lujan Grisham.
Just now.
Thank you.
and that's a big. Anyway, Stephanie's like 48 to 46 at this point.
It's a very, very tight land commissioner race.
But it was closer. It was like 48 to 47. So she's
Gained a little bit.
gained a little bit. Yep.
Okay. Loveless.
Well, we are looking at some great national results on the congressional side for Democrats. Miss Ocasio-Cortez has become the youngest woman ever elected to Congress
In
out
New
of
York.
New York.
Big upset in
Big
the
upset.
Democratic Party.
And the Republican that they put up against her was pretty strong as well, but she beat them all back. And they're still not calling the governor's race in Florida. It's within a 1 percentage point margin at this point, and that would trigger an automatic recount. And it would also
that's
trigger
Gillum and DeSantis.
Yes, and it would also trigger a runoff if the end result is one of them less than 50%. It would trigger a recount to confirm that, and then a runoff.
So they'd have to have another complete election
They would.
just for governor.
They would. And if Brian Kemp ends up with less than 50% in Georgia, it'd be the same thing. He'd go up against Stacey Abrams on December 4th for
Interesting.
a runoff. It
Didn't
would
know
be
that.
another turnout battle.
Okay, so
Maybe they would bring power cords so the machines would work.
Yes, Georgia's been a big mess. I imagine there are going to be many, many, many lawsuits that will be credibly.
because it's suppression.
Yes, voter suppression in Georgia was the most egregious that you could possibly.
So it's been my feeling that a Secretary of State, unless they're running for re-election, should, they should not be able to keep their seat. They should have to resign their seat unless they're running for re-election.
Especially
if you're running for
U.S.
governor,
Senate or governor, especially Congress, U.S. Senate, governor, you should not be able to do that.
so far we don't know what the result will be in Georgia. We do know in Kansas that Kansas' Secretary of State, the Republican nominee for governor, lost bad to the Democratic candidate? Her name again?
Her name is, let me go to this race real quick.
I can never remember.
Laura Kelly.
Laura
Thank you.
Kelly.
Thank you.
That's
Yeah.
right. Thank you.
Big winner, governor's race in Kansas. So that state will turn
Big
blue
win.
in terms of the state house.
Here's an interesting note from Florida. 7 precincts in Broward could not electronically submit votes, so they are driving the results on jump drives to election headquarters. So Florida remains
Hanging chads
strange.
all
Yeah.
over again.
Yeah.
So how many of those jump drives are going to get shifted out in the old shell game switch on the way from the
boy.
precincts
Here
to
we
the
go. Loveless Johnson. the
Well, those
third
are Democratic
conspiracy theory.
supervisors, so perhaps not.
Let's hope so. All right, it is 8:30. We'll take a time out. You're listening to 2018 general election coverage at Talk 1260-1037, streaming at santafe.com. I'm Richard Eves with J.D. Bullington, Inez Russell Gomez, and Loveless Johnson III. We'll be right back.
Republicans are getting killed.
Right now, still a
State House.
dead heat for the control of the Congress.
For what?
Control of Congress.
Country seat's going to go Democratic.
131 apiece right now in the race. And again,
I
around
thought Fox
California,
called it and CNN called it.
they have, but
That's what Egoff
that's
just
because
told
they're
me.
just
He thought
assuming
it's been
that
on
California is
And
going
he
to
thinks
win.
Allison's going to win.
Right, California's going to go
might get-
overwhelmingly blue.
but
They don't
he
have that
might
many
lose George
Republican
Dodds, so
members
that'd be
in the
better.
first place.
So,
And
He
all
told
those
me a
seats have
couple
to
of days
just be
ago it was
officially
3-7.
counted. But
Devin
right
That's
now,
what he was expecting.
Did we get Devin Nunes to lose?
that would be
yes, right now, 1, 2, 3,
that would be amazing.
Republicans will lose 5. Democrats
Talk
will
about
lose.
a
So right now, they're
Republican scumbag in Congress.
in the four, in my opinion.
He's one of the
But the
worst.
Republicans have one,
He'll be
two,
completely muted though once he's not chairman of anything. It'll just be,
All right, I'm not going to
this
listen
is
to the
Democrats don't have anyone.
how
That
far
guy,
off were you like?
Egoff's a good, he's good at what he does. And that
Anybody wants to
Abbas
call
Eccles,
anybody? Should we
We
call Peter or
let me see if-
Egoff or?
I think you should call Egoff
I
because
think
he's doing really
it's a
well.
good time to call you guys
Okay.
because I'll tell you, my analysis shows
Okay.
the Republicans are gonna looks like they're gonna lose 5 seats for
All right.
sure.
So he might be drunk.
Democrats maybe 1, so that'd be a net pickup of 4. But the Republicans have 4 other people in trouble. They've got to pull out 4 squeakers. And I think combined with what Loveless is telling us nationally, combined with how Michelle is, I predicted the race would be called before 8. It got called at 8:30. I think you can say it's a blue wave. It's not a tsunami, but it's definitely a blue wave.
In New Mexico, anyway. If
Definitely.
not, if
Nice.
not. And the House, but what the poll said it was going to happen is they keep the Senate and they get the House, and that's
And the
exactly,
Senate's already
it's already been
back
called,
with the Republicans. They already have picked up 50 seats.
which means the judiciary and we're all going to.
But this is just based upon projections.
Yeah, these
Not
are-
reality, but just projections.
Well, some of these races have been called.
Right.
though. Yeah.
But we still have to pick up 80,
Yeah.
87 seats.
Wow,
And
we've
most
got-
of them in California, though. We'll pick up
We've got another Republican in
Washington
trouble.
State, Oregon.
Rebecca Dow is in trouble.
Oh wow!
Who?
Oh,
Rebecca
So they're
Dow.
still voting in Fulton County.
Georgia.
Yeah.
Okay.
Can you get an update on Monica?
She's toast.
She's toast?
She's really bad.
That's it. I can't
What
tell
district is she? I'll look it up.
you. That makes me very happy.
68.
60.
That Monica's going to lose mainly because all my coworkers thought the
I
other
can
way
tell
was she
what it
couldn't be.
She's
And
down
She wasn't, and she won
58
being
to
nice.
42 with
Yeah.
8,006.
What's
She
happening
is
with,
almost 2,000
The
votes
woman who
down.
cursed
Monica.
out, Greg
Yeah, she's down
Sonnenfeld,
5,000 votes to
the write-in.
3,587. That's over, man. She can't make that.
Oh, Heather, I don't know.
I'm a big
We don't have any
One of the
results.
biggest allies of the
Yeah,
governor.
I'll just ask her.
Not a great night for Susanna Martinez. All of her judicial people have gone down.
Good. The
Judicial
five,
appointments
gang of
are
five, her gang of five are
It
going
looks like
down.
they're all in trouble. I can't name them.
Megan Duffy's the closest because Daniel Gallegos was a Gallegos, and
Yes.
she's still probably going to win.
Daniel is one of the 5.
Yeah.
But anyway, but no, I mean, and now they've got Rebecca Dow. This is a district that's 34% Republican.
Gina? What? Okay.
Yeah, it's looking really bad for Republicans in the state house.
Vince Cadillac, that's hilarious.
I mean, they lost.
Kansas
4%.
governor turns blue, Colorado stays blue and goes gay. That guy's so funny. Native American lesbian flips a house seat in Kansas.
Yep. a Native American. There's two
So-
Native Americans elected to Congress for the first time ever this year so far.
They're saying
Besides
the Kansas
Deb is-
lady was first, the
A
lady in
woman
Kansas, but we were called first.
Oh, okay. There was a woman, a Native American woman in Kansas that just picked up a congressional seat as well.
And she's lesbian.
Flip the one, a lesbian. Flip
All right,
the
here we
one.
go. It is, let's see here, 35 minutes after 8 o'clock. You're listening to the 2018 general election coverage here at Talk 1260, 1037 KTRC. Richard Deeds, along with Lovelace Johnson III, Inez Russell Gomez, and J.D. Bullington. We're going to try and connect with Speaker of the House, Brian Egoff, because Democrats, according to the tallies right now, are having a huge night in New Mexico in the House. Senate not up, but the House. And JD, is it fair to say that this is turning out to be a fairly bad night for the governor?
Well, she's not doing very well with her judicial appointments.
Right.
They're all.
And one of her chief allies, Representative Monica Youngblood, she's also losing badly.
Republican Monica Youngblood, State House member,
Right.
West Albuquerque West
Arrested
Side
for
District.
DWI. Terrible,
Yeah.
terrible video
Yeah,
of her arrest.
I think that DWI has more to do than her close affiliation with the governor. But look, the point here is it's turning into a very, very bad night for the Republicans in the House. My count has them, they're probably going to lose 5 seats for sure in the state House. In addition to that, they have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 other House members who are in very, very close races that several of those people are on the outside upset list. These are big upsets.
And
So,
during the break, we had one that surprised you, and that was Representative Dow.
Rebecca Dow from Truth or Consequences. This is a district that goes all the way over to Silver City. She is running against Karen Whitlock. This district is 34% Republican to 44% Democrat. On paper, looks like Democrats should walk away with this. However, like I said, a district in New Mexico that's 30% or higher is considered a Republican seat. But here's what it's looking like. 8,374 votes already in this district. And it is a squeaker. Karen Whitlock, the Democrat, 4,219 to Rebecca Dow, the Republican incumbent, at 4,155. That is 50, 51 to 40, 49. That's really close. But in a normal year, the Democrat shouldn't be that close, and in fact, she is leading. So Rebecca's in trouble. A lot of votes in on this. She would clearly be in the upset list.
Okay, we still have no reports in, no numbers in from Santa Fe County, so it's not like we're avoiding Trujillo race or the Romero race in District 46 or the Egoff race. There's just zero votes have been in Santa Fe County. Early absentee, same day. We have nothing from Santa Fe County. It does look like the Senate will swing even further to the Republicans. Looks like the Republicans, Greg Lovelace, will pick up several seats in the Senate.
I think they'll end up with 53. So they may pick up 2 seats in the Senate right now. But interestingly enough, in the House, Richard, another bellwether race that I've been following
Right.
is in the very far east part of the state of Kansas.
Okay.
And very solid Republican district. But tonight, the challenger Davids has defeated the incumbent Yoder 53 to 44 in Kansas.
Okay.
And then for the open seat right next to it, Davis has defeated Watkins as well by a narrow margin, but a defeat nonetheless. So 2 of Kansas's formerly red congressional districts have turned blue,
As has the State House.
as has the State House. That's a major indicator. And keep in mind, Kansas, as we all know, that's what we call Middle America. That's
Yeah.
Heartland America. That's the flyover state.
Right.
And they're going blue.
But it looks like Missouri, the next door neighbor, is going to go red when
Redder,
it comes to the
big
Senate. Claire McCaskill losing her Senate seat
Right.
in Missouri.
Right.
The governor Governor's race, gubernatorial race in Florida has tightened even more. Loveless, it is now within the margin where it would trigger an automatic recount.
Yes, it is in the recount margin. And
Is that a 0.5% or 1%?
1% is the recount margin. Right now, we're looking at literally about 70,000 vote difference between the two candidates out of roughly 8 million votes cast. So it's a very, very tight race.
But we also found that some of the votes could not be counted electronically, so they're putting them on thumb drives and driving them to Tallahassee, or where do they have to drive them to?
Yeah, I think they have to drive them to the Secretary of State's office.
Or
in
maybe
Tallahassee.
just the county clerk's office.
County clerk's office
Probably.
in their
In
county.
Broward, yeah.
Right.
It's probably
But so that could change that. But the senatorial race is still going to go to the current governor, Rick Scott.
Yeah, he's
So it
up.
looks like.
He's up by 80,000 votes. So it's also very close. There could be a recount in that race as well, but right now it's almost a 2-point difference, and so I don't think there'll be a recount there. I think Senator Nelson is going to lose, and so yes, it looks as if though the Republicans are going to increase their hold on the Senate. But they are down 134 to 132 in the race for the House.
With
right
projections from even Fox, a lot of the national news outlets are already saying the House, about 95% sure that the House will go to the Democrats. That means they're over 218, picking up the 23 seats or more that they need to take control of the House, divide Congress, and not to maybe thwart or slow down the agenda of Donald Trump.
Right.
In Arizona, 48 to 49% in the Arizona senatorial race, so that is very tight as well, but not with a whole lot of votes counted.
That's right. There's another race for president going on. At least we forget the Navajo Nation is electing the president. And right now, Jonathan Nez has a pretty healthy lead over Joe Shirley, who's a past president.
And Jonathan is the lieutenant governor, or vice president?
Something like that. 31 to 14 with 85 out of 110 chapters reporting, according to the Navajo Times.
Say that again. How much of a lead?
Like a lot. 17.
Okay. And how much did the vote in?
85 out of 110.
Okay, so
maybe
pretty close to getting towards full reporting Navajo Nation, and that was also driving the House race up in Navajo Nation, up in Shiprock, early when we went on the air towards the Democrat. Has that changed at all, Inez?
He's still ahead at this point. So Anthony Allison, I believe.
But because we have a Navajo Nation election at the same time, that is driving up the numbers people went to the polls.
I think that's true. One of my colleagues was saying if she could hold on during a presidential, she didn't think he would lose, or that Sharon would lose this time. But he forgot that there's a Navajo Nation, which was getting more people in that election.
About 2% separating the State Land Commissioner, Maggie Toulouse Oliver, slightly ahead of Pat Lyon.
Well, Maggie Toulouse Oliver,
Secretary of State. That race has been called. But Stephanie Garcia Richard slightly ahead, with about 2 percentage points ahead of Pat Lyons. Stephanie Garcia Richard ahead a little bit of Pat Lyons, unless that has changed. Inez?
No, it's about 40. It's 1% now again, but it gone up to 48. And now I've got 47.8 to 46.8.
So it's
about 4,000 votes.
Very, very tight in the land commissioner race. Governor's race has been called. Secretary of State's race has been called. What about the state auditor?
Oh, that's going to go the way for Brian Colon.
Yeah.
He's got a commanding lead.
Okay.
I expect that race to be called soon.
State treasurer. I gave away some tickets yesterday to anybody that can name, and that was an open book test. Anybody that can name the state treasurer. Two people got it wrong, and one person finally got it right because it was an open book test. James Lewis was one guess.
Oh, Santa Fe and Doña Annie neither have reported.
Zero from both counties.
Both counties.
All right. Well, we're not alone. Bernalillo County coming in strong. A lot of reporting in Bernalillo County.
Partially reporting. All precincts are partially reporting.
JD?
But none is fully.
Continues to look like a rough night for the Republicans. In the House, like I say, I think they're down at least 5. at least 5, and it looks like it
Could go 6, 7, or 8 by the end of the night.
It could hit 8.
Could be a rout, could be a blue wave in New Mexico for Democrats in the House.
There is a race that shouldn't even be close. This is House District 22, East Mountain area, Sandia Park, right outside of Albuquerque. House seat was vacated by Republican Jim Smith.
Right. Who went to county commission, correct?
He went to the Burlington County Commission. So this district is 41% Republican to 36% Democrat. Strong Republican district. Lots of votes in, and this race is trending toward the Democrat, which is unheard of. But that shows you just how deep, or really how big of a wave this is. So this district is House District 22, and here's what it's looking like. 9,294 votes in already in this Republican district. The Republican is down 4,200 votes to the Democrat, who has over 5,000 votes. That is 55 to 45%. That is unbelievable, Douglas.
Truly unbelievable. I mean, that blows my mind.
That
honestly.
is unbelievable.
Look, can I shift to the national conversation a bit?
Please do.
We got a few gubernatorial. Here's the good news. It looks as if, though, all of the key open and contested gubernatorial races throughout the country are going solid Democrat. Iowa, Maine, Kansas, Michigan, Wisconsin, all about to be called for the Democrats.
Scott Walker is going to lose.
Scott Walker is losing in Wisconsin.
Couldn't happen.
Iowa is turning blue. So now we're talking about blue-led redistricting efforts.
What about
in the next census?
Iowa
That's
Senate
very
race?
important.
What about the Iowa Senate race with Steve King?
That's a congressional race. Steve King's going to get reelected, I imagine. The Georgia governor's race is tightening now. Brian Kemp has gone from 10 points up to 8 points up. 82% reporting. So now the big urban areas are going to come in, and from what we hear, they're still voting in Atlanta because of missing power cords at polling stations and whatnot. Other subtle voter suppression activities. Let me see here.
Hope springs eternal. Inez, you just had an update?
No, I was looking for Iowa results. I'm fine.
Congressional race?
Yeah, because in this very early results, King was behind, but that doesn't mean anything in the point.
But I mean that is one that's a congressman. That
and he's an out and out white supremacist.
He is,
and he is not
anti-Semite.
Yes, and they have not backed away from him. And it's fascinating how far you can go now and not be abandoned by your party.
Mm-hmm.
Fascinating is one way to look at it, I guess. Kind of disgusting would be another. Let's talk. JD, go ahead.
Can I give a quick update on these judicial races again? They're starting to really.
New Mexico judicial races.
Yeah, Supreme Court, Michael V. Hill, with over 345,000 votes in.
Statewide race.
Way over half of the vote.
Right.
Statewide race. He is up 56 to 44. He's going to win that race.
Okay.
Now we get to Court of Appeals. Democrat Christina Bogardus is still in a very close race against Stephen French, but she is up 51.2 to 48.8. Democrat Jacqueline Medina, also for Court of Appeals. She is up 54 to 46. She's going to win that one. Brianna Zamora, again, 54-46. She will defeat Emil Kuhn. Megan Duffy, again, one of the closer races. She is leading 176,527 votes over Daniel Jose Gallegos, the Republican, who has 164,637 votes. That is trending her way. That is a 51.7. That's a 52 to 48% spread there. So, again, Democrats are just darn near running.
All right. We have on the line somebody that should make him happy. That would be Senate Majority Leader, State Senator Peter Wirth. Senator, thank you for joining us this evening. Well, we miss having you here as well. You're with Loveless Johnson. Your old teammate from the primaries in June, Inez Russell Gomez and J.D. Bullington. So we've been reporting that inside New Mexico, it is a blue wave. What's the feeling? Your Democratic headquarters in Albuquerque, correct? We have.
It's unbelievable.
Yep.
Senator Worth, this is Lovelace Johnson from Call a Reason. Got a question for you. Now that we've got a new governor, and it looks like a very convincing mandate for Governor-elect Stephanie.
No, Michelle Lujan.
I'm sorry, Michelle Lujan Grisham. And since you're, such a powerful force in the Senate, and we know Speaker Egoff is going to have a much, stronger majority in the House, how fast is it going to take y'all to pass legal recreational marijuana and get it signed so we can start raising real money here for the state of New Mexico? How fast can you do it?
There you go. Lovelace is ahead of him.
Yeah.
Cisco McSorley and Jerry Ortiz Pino.
Yeah. Yeah. Right.
Right.
Well, the optimistic thing is that you all will have the benefit of several other states who made mistakes and had lessons learned about how to make their programs best practices. And so with 29 states already legal and several others coming online through referendum this year, we hope that you guys will put it in the hands of the people or just bypass that and do it this legislative session. And I'll be down there with JD making sure that you do.
Yeah. Indeed. Yeah. Yeah. In Clayton.
Well, listen.
Right.
Well, when you all are going to be shocked when you see how crime is reduced once you take black market weed out of the market altogether. Because 70% of adults in New Mexico smoke marijuana now anyway, so it's not like you're gonna, do something that the people don't already want.
70% of Lovelace's friends smoke marijuana.
No, it's more like 90% of my friends.
The senator we had on one of your colleagues, Senator Steinborn from Doña Ana County a little while ago, and he talking about kind of the picking up the blue wave, picking up the executive, picking up we still don't know about land commission races like that, but kind of momentum to get some things done, as Lovelace mentioned. Maybe recreational cannabis, but there are pressing issues that I'm sure you're looking at with your colleagues, maybe even discussing tonight in Albuquerque, looking ahead, maybe getting a little bit ahead of ourselves, but things like teacher shorties, things like
pre-K funding.
Pre-K funding, also mental and behavioral health, have to rebuild that entire system. So a lot of things, but once again, a little more money is going to ease that process along, correct? Right. Right. It's no panacea.
Yeah.
Right. Yep. Yep. Right. Good. Yep. Wow.
Senator, it's Lovelace again. You know, taxation and tax reform is kind of tricky. And one of the benefits that could, you know, improve that process is generating more income revenue so that, you know, more people are paying their fair share, of course, but that fair share is a little bit more because they're making more money. What's the mood in the legislature for perhaps looking at increasing the state's minimum wage?
Right. Sure. Mm-hmm. Senator, thank you for your time. Looks like a great night for your party tonight in New Mexico, and with picking up the governor and some House seats. And hopefully we'll connect if you happen to see the speaker around. Tell him we're trying to get a hold of him. Hopefully we can talk to him after the news. Senator Peter Wirth, thank you very much for your time. We'll be back after the news coming up on 9 o'clock. One more hour here on Talk 1260, 1037, 2018 general election coverage. My name is Richard Eads, here with Lovelace Johnson III, Inez Russell Gomez, and J.D. Bullington. We'll be back after the news. Also streaming at santafe.com.
Doña Ana County.
Hey, here's one
Coming
from
in?
the,
Doña Ana just released.
here's one from the What Do You Know department. Republican Kim Davis, the Kentucky court clerk who became a conservative Christian heroine for refusing to sign same-sex marriage certificates, lost her re-election bid Tuesday.
Yay.
In Kentucky.
Yay.
So she's still losing though.
Total nut job, right?
50 to
Total
29.
nut job.
She was the one that ambushed the Pope.
That's
Yes.
correct. That's correct.
It's really not
And had Mike
popular.
Huckabee and Trump competing over who's going to have the press conference with her.
Mayor just texted me. How's it going?
The Democrats are 7 seats away from taking control of the House now.
Yeah, ABC just said,
They just said they think it's going to be as many as 30 and 40, depending on. California.
Oregon, and Washington State.
So, listen, Doña Ana County just came in. We ought to take a look at that social donors
Okay.
list.
But she's still losing.
Yeah,
I'm gonna see if the mayor just texted me. See if he wants to do a quick phone.
yeah, but it's close. It's
Yeah.
That'd be cool.
50.7 to 49.3, but she's
Yeah.
down. But she needed to go. She needed to be bumped up.
And she got 16 points, so that's good.
Yeah, she made up some ground. So we'll see.
How far along is the numbers on that? How much of it is there?
For District 2, we have, for the congressional district, we have 382 out of 501
Because
precincts
Santa Fe
partially
just came in
reported,
as well.
49 out of 501 fully reporting. We have a total of 117,607 votes so far. So that's probably only that's half,
Okay.
roughly half.
So that bodes well for Xochitl.
It's 49.
Xochitl should feel good about that.
No, she might. You know, with this wave, it's possible she could pull it off.
Okay, Stephanie Garcia just went ahead by 6 points.
got Kenny Akishima down there, bro. He delivers.
Well, I think that women are just, there's going to be 100 women in the House of Representatives.
And there are 2 Muslim women in the Congress now.
Yeah.
Xochitl, what's her name?
Santa Fe's here. It's only partial, but Stephanie's ahead 74 to 23.
And that would be why Michelle just went up 57.
Hey, everybody,
44.
welcome here to Congress.
Yeah.
Brian Cologne, it's a huge night for the Democrats. I mean, for midterm elections to be this blue,
All right,
that's
so I
amazing.
think we'll have time to go to Doñana County, and then we'll have Alan
And
on,
Santa Fe.
and
Santa Fe.
But I just covered that.
Oh, that's okay.
Andrea, 4870. Heather 0. That's all right.
What?
In House District 46.
Oh, we're
4,870 to 0.
I had texted the mayor to ask him if he knew anything about our amendment, but he didn't know yet.
Okay, so he'll be with us in a couple minutes.
Yeah, you can call that race, Andrea. Well, we
Yeah.
all knew that Andrea Romero was going to
Yep.
win that.
But Heather didn't give me any votes.
Had you heard the audio from Greg Sonnenfeld?
No, I didn't want to. I was just like, I saw her comments posted on things about Indians for years.
We should comment on the Los Alamos.
But it's the F and this and the F and that. And he's an F and freak.
We, we can finally comment on the House seat that Stephanie Garcia Richards vacating in Los Alamos.
Christine, is she?
There are Santa Fe precincts in that district.
Okay.
Christine Chandler is up 72% to 28%.
And Matthew McQueen is now ahead by 19 points.
Oh, because I saw on TV it was
That's
only
what Santa Fe
14%.
County came in.
Yep, yep.
We can talk about
Okay,
that one now.
okay.
Yeah,
All
we
right,
got
good.
two
So-
we got 2 House races that overlap Santa.
Matthew up big?
Well, 19 points, yeah.
Oh,
Santa Fe County came in. I'm surprised that Jarrett's pulling out well.
me
But
too.
He had a lot of friends.
he's pulling outside of
Punching above his weight.
district numbers. The McQueen race. Do you remember?
I want to thank everybody who is here with us. We are having a good time, y'all.
Did you play our video earlier?
Yes.
I posted it. We got tons of likes.
For you.
You and your video
Who's
bombing.
that moron? Blowing in your ear.
I can't believe I was able to hold it together.
You got it.
Coming back
I
now?
think we can call
Yeah,
House.
McQueen's way up. He's going to win that.
I think we can call House District 47.
46?
46.
Brian
Yeah.
Egot. No, 47.
Oh,
47, yeah.
EGOT.
Where are we
Unopposed.
with, where are we with Heather?
She hasn't
It is
gotten one vote.
4,870 to 0.
She's going to get
It
clawed.
actually is.
But, you know, she's not on the ballot. So.
It's a write-in, so they're going to have to.
Oh, she has to be written in again?
Yeah, she doesn't have a chance in that. She never did.
She would need 6,000, give or take, write-in votes probably to win.
No, there's no way she's going to get
Okay.
that. There ain't enough people around here to spell
So
it.
there's 3 Santa Fe area seats we can talk about.
There ain't enough people in that
McQueen,
district that can spell it.
Christine Chandler, and Andrea Romero.
I'll just have Gino tell us as soon as we have the mayor.
So there's 200,000 votes out.
Uh-huh.
So depending, he could catch up, I guess.
Oh, he definitely could.
Yeah.
But, you know,
Oh, this is Beth.
but
calling.
I'll tell you,
Hey, Beth.
she's going back.
Hey, Beth.
I
Hello.
think our endorsement puts everybody off.
Hello, hello, hello.
We talked
Hello?
about it a lot.
Yes. Yes.
Okay, so we've got 80% of the precincts reporting, and it's like 45 to 50 something.
Okay.
A lot of folks are leaving.
Oh, it's sad time over there.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know how far in it is, or how ready they are. Line at the bar in front of the stage is pretty long.
Here we go.
Okay, I gotta go, Beth. I gotta go.
Okay.
All right.
And good evening, Santa Fe. Welcome back to Talk 1260 and 1037, the 2018 general election coverage. I am Richard Dees, hosting today along with Loveless Johnson III, Inez Russell Gomez, and J.D. Bullington. Santa Fe County has come in, as well as Doña Ana County has come in. We have a lot of local races to talk about, as well as updates down in Doña Ana County on Congressional District number 2. But before we do that, and we have a lot to talk about, a lot of numbers. Santa Fe County, Doña Ana County, which also feeds into House District 50, overlapping races around a Congressional District number 2, which is the southern part of the state, being joined now by Mayor Alan Weber. Your Honor, good evening. We are good. I think we all have questions for you, but I'm going to turn you over to the editorial writer for the Santa Fe New Mexican. She has a very specific question for you, Mayor. She probably will.
No, I just saw Tripp's tweet, but it looks like the charter amendment has passed so that city elections will move to November. Is that what you've heard, and what does that do for Santa Fe?
Mayor, when we look at the kind of statewide races, it looks like it's going to be a very substantial win. Very good night for Democrats across the state. Probably picking up the governor's house, picking up number of House seats, and it's going to be a good blue wave within the state. How will that impact the city of Santa Fe when we have a governor who's a Democrat? We have a bigger majority of Democrats in the House. Is that making it easier to go talk to legislators, maybe lobby a little bit for needs of Santa Fe? Yep. Right. JD has been looking closely at those, Mayor, and it looks like Democrats will pick up at least 5 House races, maybe as many as 6 or 7 or 8. More substantial majority for Speaker Egoff. Looking at nationally, the trends nationally, are you surprised by the Republicans probably picking up some more Senate seats? And it looks like the Democrats will end up with 230, something like that.
Close to 235.
230 in the House. Yep, indeed. Right. Recovery. Yeah, indeed. Yeah. Mayor Lovelace has a question before you do that. Just want to update people that the Florida Senate race is now considered a tie, basically 50-50 between Bill Nelson and Rick Scott. 50-50, slight lead in actual raw vote totals for Rick Scott, though, but that is tightened also very, very much. Lovelace, you have a question, comment for the mayor?
Hey, Mayor. I'm great. Listen, what are your priorities going to be now that we know we were just on the phone with Senator Worth and we talked about some of the budget priorities that they have in mind at the legislature, and we talked a little bit about all the new economic or revenue boom and the chicken in every pot we're going to have from all that new marijuana money that they come up with. What are your priorities going to be? What is Santa Fe going to be asking for with this new makeup legislature and governor?
Austin, Texas. Right. Yep. Sure. Equal partners in opportunity. We also, of course, we have friends. Your friend, Mayor of Espanola. You know, we need to work on problems, common problems with them and common opportunities with them, and Los Alamos as well. Mayor, thank you for your time today. It looks like it's going to be a well. We thank you, sir. Thank you, Mayor. It is, where are we at? About 17 minutes after 9 o'clock, and looks like we have a lot more numbers within the state, including Santa Fe County started to report, as well as Doña Ana County report. So, JD, take it away. You look
Okay.
very, very eager.
Well, there's some news here in the state house races. There's 3 races that are in the Santa Fe area that we haven't talked about. Let's first talk about that Los Alamos seat. This is House District 43, the seat that Stephanie Garcia Richard is vacating
Right.
to run for land commissioner. And Inez and I were talking about that land commission race. She'll give a report on it in just a minute, but Stephanie's
I
holding her
can't
own
wait
now.
now.
Stephanie's holding her own. So, Christine Chandler, the Democrat, we only have about 10% of the vote in so far, but she is up 72% to 28% over Republican Lisa Shen.
Okay.
Looks like that seat's going to stay Democratic.
Okay.
No surprise, House District 46. This is the Andrea Romero race,
Right.
the one that's gotten a lot of press.
Right.
She's running against Heather Norquist, who's a write-in candidate. I don't know. There's no write-in vote showing up at all yet for Heather Norquist, so she's at 0. Clearly, she's going to get something. But Andrea has 4,870 votes to 0. Clearly, Andrea is going to take that seat. And then Matthew McQueen has pulled way, way ahead of Jared Applewhite. He is up 6,059 votes to 4,309, so he's almost 2,000 votes ahead. With 10,368 votes in, would safely call that seat for Matthew McQueen. He's up 58 to 42%. And more bad news for the Republicans. Looks like they have definitely lost 5 seats, and they are dangerously close to losing 3 more that we might be able to call soon. So they're going to be down 5 without question, and maybe down 8. You can believe that.
Maybe that leads to why we're having difficulty reaching the Speaker of the House. He may be celebrating somewhere at Democratic headquarters in Albuquerque.
I've had a conversation with the Speaker about this. Even he wasn't predicting it.
Yeah.
That's unbelievable. Now, we still have this Democrat race, George Dodge in Santa Rosa. That race has really tightened
Oh,
up.
it has.
But if he were able to hold on,
Okay.
and it goes the way it's looking, I mean, it's very possible the Republicans could be down 8. Right now, it's looking like for sure down 5, probably 7.
All right. Because we started the show talking about the Shiprock House race and the Navajo Nation. Where does that one stand?
Sharon's pulled it out. It looks like she's at 53 to 46,
The
something like
incumbent
that.
Republican.
Yes, the incumbent Republican.
53 to 46.
I
So it
think
looks
that's
safe
right.
for her to hold on to her seat up in Shiprock. All right, the congressional district race, the congressional 2 race down because the Doña Ana County numbers that started to come in, as we were talking with Senator Steinborn about. Has that tightened up?
It's tightened up. Yvette Harrell is still ahead by about 3,000 votes, 50 to 49%. And what I'm seeing on Twitter is that Doña Ana County is still out a lot of votes,
Okay.
but so is Eddy County, which would be more conservative.
Probably 90% for.
But I think
For
there's
Pella.
probably more votes in Doña Ana, so we'll see how that shakes out.
All right. What about the land commissioners? Now we have some Santa Fe votes in as well as Doña Ana County votes in. Land
Yes.
commissioners race is looking at
It's 50 to 44% for Stephanie Garcia Richard right now.
6-point lead.
A 6-point lead. That's only about 30,000 votes, though. 24-5 to 2015. But still, she's doing very well, and 487,000 votes are in. So there's only a couple 100,000 votes out.
Still to be tabulated.
Still to be tabulated.
J.D. Bullington.
I missed the Santa Fe race. We haven't talked about Santa Fe County Commissioner.
Indeed, we have not.
Rudy Garcia versus Mike Anaya. We can call this race for Rudy Garcia. He is up 60% to 40%. He's up by 1,000 votes over Mike Anaya. I don't think there's any way Mike Anaya can make up that spread. So Rudy right now is at 2,933. Mike Anaya, 1,992. I don't think that's margin's going to change.
And so Rudy would retain his seat at Santa Fe Public School Board and be a county commissioner, I
He
know?
said he would do that, but that might change once he tries to do both. And I'm not sure if he's retired yet from the county, because remember, he works for the county. So he
Does
could be
work
his
for the
own boss, unless he quits soon.
How confusing.
Yes,
This was a race that the New Mexican declined to endorse.
yes.
Loveless, what do you find? What do you see?
Well, just a few interesting updates from around the country. It looks like Ron DeSantis has been declared the winner of the Florida governor's race, and that's a bit disappointing. Looks like Georgia is going to go to Brian Kemp, and so we won't be seeing any gubernatorial history tonight. Although there is a big win for the Jesus Industrial Complex. In the state of Alabama, voters have voted to amend their state constitution to allow the display of the Ten Commandments in state buildings and other public places that are owned by the state. And that was, as we all know, started by former Supreme Court Justice Chief Judge Roy Moore, recently vanquished State Supreme Court Judge of Alabama and recently vanquished Senate candidate. He started all that shenanigans, and it's ended up the voters in Alabama approving that. So big win for the Jesus Industrial Complex.
So, Loveless, will
Yes.
that withstand a constitutional challenge at the U.S. Supreme Court?
Well, I mean,
With the current makeup of the
with the
Supreme
current
Court?
makeup, it could very well.
That's a very interesting point.
Well, listen, with this
It
current
is-
makeup of the Supreme Court, there's going to be a ton of movement for the religious freedom movement now. And you're going to see a number of various angles and ways to approach this idea of religious freedom that really only protects Christians. You're going to see a lot of those cases end up in the Supreme Court. I would guess.
We also had Loveless during the break. You mentioned a woman who was involved in same-sex marriage cases, also in the South.
Yes, in Kentucky, County
in
Clerk
Kentucky,
Kim Davis.
became very well known in Kentucky.
Yes, Kim Davis has been defeated. She was the woman, as we all recall, was ordered by the Supreme Court to sign those marriage certificates for
Right.
same-sex marriage
Yes,
couples.
she refused, and then she ambushed the Pope.
Yeah, and then she ambushed the Pope, ended up spending a little time in the clink, and now she's going to be spending a lot of time at home because she's been defeated
For county clerk.
for county
For
clerk.
re-election bid at county clerk.
Yes, in
Inez?
Kentucky.
So here's some interesting information off Twitter about the Doña Ana results in the Sochi Yvette race.
Right.
So Eddy County's results aren't in, but they are on the county website. So she beat her. Yvette won by about 5,000 votes there.
In
So that means
Eddy
Harold,
County?
yeah, that means Harold's up by 7,900 votes, with most Doña Ana County election day votes still to report. So now it looks like Torres Small would have to make up 7,000 votes of election day.
With all of Doña Ana County same-day votes cast today, yet to be counted.
Yes,
But Eddy County is in.
is in. It's not on the Secretary of State's website, but it was on the county website, according to Heath Houseman.
So Heath is adding it all up and saying somewhere just shy of 8,000 votes with Eddy County in, but Doña Ana County not in, and assuming that that might be slightly more blue or maybe significantly more blue.
I don't know. Republicans
Right.
have tended to vote same day more this time for whatever reason, but I have no idea what they're doing in Doña
Right.
Annie, and we know that they have the polls open past 7.
That's true. That's
So
true.
can she make up that many votes? That's the key.
That is the big mystery right now. At 26 minutes after 9 o'clock, you're listening to the 2018 general election coverage. We'll be here until 10 o'clock. I'm Richard Eads, along with Inez Russell Gomez, J.D. Bullington, and Loveless Johnson III. Keeping a close eye as we finally got some numbers out of Santa Fe County and Doña Ana County in the House District 46 race, the one that was Carl Trujillo, Andrew Romero. Andrew run the primary, and then Heather Nordquist got in as a write-in candidate. They have 25 of 25 precincts reporting partially, fully reporting 0 out of 25. We don't exactly, I'm not sure exactly what the process is for counting write-in ballots, if there were some early or absentee write-in ballots, if those might have get, but anyway, right now, that race stands at 4,870 for Andrea Romero and 0 for Heather Norquist.
And just the number of votes that are in for Andrea, that race is over. I mean, she's got all the votes she needs to.
Probably, as a write-in candidate, at the very least, you probably need around 6,000 write-in votes, and the likelihood of that, with Andrew Romero having close to 5,000 now, is
well,
slim.
and you need 6,000 that were spelled correctly as well. You remember how Joe Skeen lost? I mean, how Joe Skeen beat
one as a write-in candidate.
Congressman Runnels' widow, because no one knew how to spell Runnels correctly. And Joesken, real easy.
Norquist with a D, you have to spell it out. People have to be on the read.
Has to be correct.
It's a good point. All right, lots and lots of races to still talk about. We'll take a break here at the bottom of the hour. Tomorrow we will have the winners and losers, and we'll have some of the winners. And if any of the losers would like to join us tomorrow, that would be fine as well. But we'll endeavor on my show tomorrow to talk to as many of the people involved in the election or their campaigns as we can tomorrow on my show, which is 1 o'clock until 5 o'clock, right here on the same radio station. Right now, I would say loser, off the top of my head, JD, loser would probably be the Republican Party in kind of general, looking at the House races, the statewide races, with a few exceptions, are going to be Democratic victories.
Not a good night for Republicans, no question about that. They're not going to win anything high up on the ticket. They're going to lose at least 5 seats in the House.
The minimum.
How the George Dodge goes. They did pull out Rebecca Dowd. The one from
They did.
From Through the Consequences.
Okay.
She had a late surge, and they just called the race. Everything, all the precincts are in, which is encouraging because now we're starting to see 100% reporting in some of these districts. So she actually won her race by 1,000 votes. And I see some of these Republicans who are on my danger list, they are starting to inch back into this. So right now, Republicans are going to lose 5 seats. I'd like to tell you who they are.
Go ahead. We have about 90 seconds.
Representative Monica Youngblood, West Side Albuquerque.
Definitely going to lose.
Representative Jenny Hall is going to lose. Representative John Jones is going to lose that seat for Republicans. That's an Gentry seat. That has gone Democrat.
So that's
Open
a household that
seat-
lost
open
2
seat
races
flip.
tonight.
Yep, David Atkins is going to lose his, he's an incumbent Republican, he's going to lose. And Brad Winner is going to lose to Day Hoffman. He was not able to hold that seat for the Republicans. That one is still a little bit close, but I'm going on a limb.
Boy, I'll tell
It's just
you,
too late to
that was a
go.
Republican seat, and with
He's down by too much.
Brad Winter's name ID, that would surprise me. Maybe just winter fatigue is in it.
Well, it's
Winter is not coming in
you
this
know,
case.
look, women candidates against men are doing very well. I mean, we saw this trend in the primary,
Good point.
and it's continuing now.
All right, we'll be back after a quick timeout. Coming up in 30 minutes after 9 o'clock, you're listening to the 2018 general election coverage here on Talk About 60, 103.7 KTRC. Be back. Nathan Small up quite a bit, looks like.
Who's going to take care of it? That's a big one.
I mean, there are races. These Rio Rancho races are close, if you can believe it. Wow. Tim Lewis, Republican.
Right.
He's up 52 to 48%. 3,800 votes to 3,500. That is unbelievable.
You need water?
I do.
I do, yeah, that'd be awesome. Mine never came. I just realized it was fine.
The service around this.
Wow, George Dodge is now 14 votes behind Martin Seymour.
Wow, that's pretty close. Though.
Oh, Steve King might lose.
Mm-hmm.
He's down 6 points.
If he loses,
Oh, that would make me so happy.
that would be so just for America and for Iowa.
I'm sick of public races. I want them to go hide again.
Well, I kind of like that they're out. I mean, any exterminator would tell you the easiest way to kill roaches is once they all run out.
I know, it's just hard
What do
to
you want about?
have them yelling and
It's harder to,
being in
it's harder to
public.
get. It's harder to get them when they're hiding in the cracks.
well, they're never going to go away. At least I wouldn't have to hear them.
If you do get torture, right?
No, I don't. I live very close to here. Yeah. Sorry about that.
He can go. He can do it.
I can take him. I don't mind him.
You sure?
Yeah, because the rail yard's not that far from me. You know where I live. It's not a big deal. This is a kind of election where both sides can say they won.
Yeah, this is the results are very mixed.
Oh,
It's
so
You
going to
know,
be
I-
interesting to see how Trump spins it.
Oh, he's spinning it. I took the Senate. It's historic. I'm great. Where I campaigned, they won. But the House,
It's the media.
Yeah.
This is, you can blame the media.
the thing about the
Unfair
House, though, is
coverage.
they can get his taxes. They're doing that tomorrow.
Maxine Waters is the chair of the committee that gets to do it.
Yeah.
He's going to be in trouble on his taxes.
Oh, he totally is.
You know, the beginning of that landslide was when the New York Times did that, did
Oh.
18-page story on
And,
the Trump
and
family.
this weekend,
They did a whole edition. The New York Times that dedicated a whole days.
they have a whole magazine this weekend on what went into that story to remind you of it.
Yeah.
Plus, we haven't heard from Mueller for 3 weeks because of the election. You know he's fixing to indict the kids.
I think so.
Gina said yes.
Okay.
Thank
so,
you.
Oh, no worries.
So this is always constantly on, right, Loveless?
Yes.
You're not pausing that at all. Okay.
Uh-uh.
So just remind everybody when we take a break, we're not really on a break because we're on the internet all the time.
Right.
Oh hell.
So George Dodge now, the Democrat, you know, only one that was remotely in trouble.
Right.
He's now down only by 14 votes.
14 votes
It is really tight.
to the
now.
Hispanic Republican who always wins.
They, you know, look, the future of the Republican Party in the state, if they don't, they've got to get more Republicans. You know, when they lose their hot shots like Sarah Maestas Barnes, they don't do anything with the Lieutenant Governor John Sanchez. I mean, they're farm club. They have no
Well,
farm
you know,
club.
you start running for county commission and you work your way up.
Yeah.
And you
They-
feel
But I
the-
mean, even
field
attractive,
candidates.
candidates that had a future like Monica just completely threw it away. I mean, she was an up and comer still,
She's
right?
a
She had a
Republican
future.
Hispanic. Yeah, she did. She was doing great.
They didn't answer.
But
Neither one of them.
no,
Bastard. I forgot we're still on.
what's that?
We're still on. I forgot.
Well, yeah.
Can I call you as soon as I'm done here in a bit?
So what we got much time? We have 30, 25 more minutes.
Question mark.
Well, we should know a lot more. Some of these.
They still haven't updated. Just think all 3 Native women could win. If Yvette Herrell wins.
All right, 34 minutes after 9 o'clock, you're listening to the 2018 general election coverage from Talk 1260 and 1037 KTRC. All right, just to recap, inside New Mexico, it has definitely been a blue wave. We're looking at the Democrats are going to win the governor's house, governor's seat, going to control the executive. They're going to pick up probably 5, although it's changing moment by moment in the House. They're going to keep the Secretary of State. They're going to win a state auditor, take that back from Wayne Johnson, Republican appointed by Susana Martinez, for a short term when Tim Keller went to be the mayor of Albuquerque. They will keep the state treasurer's seat. What am I missing here? County commission will be, looks like Rudy Garcia.
Yeah,
he will pick up the County Commission seat.
Got it.
Santa Fe County Commission seat. Christine Chandler, very, very likely huge lead in the Los Alamos House seat, which is House seat 43.
Mhm.
It looks like Andrew Romero will pick up House District 46, which we have no reporting other than her votes, which is close to 5,000. Her opponent has 0. Her opponent is a write-in candidate. Not really sure how that works. So a big night for Democrats in New Mexico. We still don't know about, we have Deb Haaland, who is won the congressional district number 1. We have Ben Ray Lujan kept a seat in congressional district number 3. Looks like Mike Vigil will be the Democrat on the Supreme Court. Looks like a lot of the judgeships will either be going or retained by Democrats, going to Democrats. It's been a bad night for the governor, her appointees. Bad night in a lot of ways for Republicans. Still out is congressional district number 2, which is the southern part of the state. The seat has been held by Steve Pierce and the state land commissioner. What have I left out?
Nothing. I think, and all the bonds are passing,
Bonds
and
are
the
passing,
constitutional amendments are passing.
as well as the change of elections for the city of Santa Fe.
Yes.
And that is, again, called the, City of Santa Fe
Charter
Charter
Amendment.
Amendment. Thank you very much.
Yep.
And looks like Vice President Nez will become the new president of Navajo Nation. We have any updates on that because they're holding a national election for the Navajo Nation today. And it was the current president, that would be Shirley, against the, Vice President or Lieutenant Governor Nez. And he's a young guy. And all I know about him is he's younger than Shirley, and he's a marathon runner.
I have not seen a new update.
All right, we will check on that.
Yeah.
All right, so narrowing of some races. JD, bring us up to date on the House races because these have been kind of all over the place.
Yeah. Okay, well, here are the House races that we're looking at. We've already identified the 5 Republicans who are going to lose those races. The only Democrat member of the House who's got a really, really tight race is, George Dodge. He is the Guadalupe County manager.
Okay.
He lives in Santa Rosa. He also owns the Dairy Queen.
Oh,
Santa Rosa, just so you know.
I've been there.
It's a very good one.
It is.
So he is super tight race here. He is running against the Republican challenger, Martin Zamora, who's from the Clovis area. He's a rancher, strong candidate. Martin is leading George 2,946 votes to 2,932.
14 votes.
14 votes
Yee.
spread here. Lot more votes to still come in, but looks like George has a chance to pull that out. You know, if this blue wave can carry him, and if all the Clovis votes are in,
Right.
and he's still got stuff out there in Guadalupe County, he could pull that off. That would be, that means the Democrats just absolutely ran the table. The other Republicans who are in trouble outside of the 5, surprisingly, Jim Dines, a Republican. This is that Tramway and Central
Right.
area. He's in trouble. He's in real trouble. He's down by about 180 votes.
And his opponent again is named.
Abbas Akil.
Okay.
I think, did we mention he would be the first Muslim
Yes, to serve in the state
to
house.
serve in the state
And a
house?
total newcomer to politics, correct?
He actually replaced someone who was on the ballot. He was a replacement.
But endorsed by former President Barack Obama.
Yeah.
Correct on this?
Yes.
Right.
Okay.
So
That helps.
So that
Yep.
would be the 6th seat that the Republicans lose. They're also in trouble on that East Mountain race. Greg Schmiedes.
This is the Jim Smith
This
seat
is
that
the
he
Jim
gave up to
Smith
go to
that he
the
gave
Bernalillo
up.
County
By the way,
Commission.
Jim Smith's in trouble in the Bernalillo County Commission.
No
Which
kidding.
is really surprising. That's the seat that Wayne Johnson gave up.
Become
If
state
he wanted
auditor.
State auditor. That seat may go to the Democrats.
Or to run for mayor.
No,
he-
the state auditor.
yeah, he's
To
the
become
state
state
auditor. He's going to lose that
Pulled
race. to
kicking and
Brian-
screaming.
Brian Colon.
Okay.
So if that seat goes, that's 7 seats the Republicans will lose.
And
That
Trip
is amazing.
Stelnick, one of our reporters at the New Mexican, has a tweet quoting Speaker Egoff, and he says that it's expanded at least 6 seats, more seats to come.
Okay.
So he's expecting a few more.
All right. So big night for the Democrats in the state house. Bigger majority in the state house. Probably looking at maybe a dozen in the majority in the state house because they were up. They already had a majority
44 to 28, it looks like right now.
of 16 seats.
Mhm.
Wow. Okay.
44, 28.
So we had both former senator, or current Senator Jeff Steinborn, former legislator, and current Senator Peter Wirth, former legislators, that was kind of the totals that the Democrats had back when they were in the House.
So I will tell you, Loveless, if the Democrats pick up even 5 seats, which they're going to easily do, that is not going to hurt the chances for you to get marijuana passed. I will tell you that, because the problem with legalizing marijuana is that across the country, it's most often done through voter referendum.
Yes.
You get enough names through a petition, and you go straight to the ballot, and you bypass the legislature.
Right.
Because the lawmakers who are in swing districts, they don't like to stick their neck out on this. But the Democrats now have cleaned the table on all the swing districts.
Except
are now
we-
on Democratic.
Well, we still have a Senate, and the Senate is more
The
conservative.
Senate is conservative.
And-
I tell you
and-
what, Peter Wirth's comments, Senator Wirth's comments as
Yeah.
Senate Majority Leader were pretty positive about that. He said they'd already been talking about it this evening with
Well,
Cisco McSorley and Jerry Ortiz y Pina.
I wouldn't be disappointed if they had enough courage just to send it to a voter referendum. It delayed the
Think it would pass.
process. It would delay the process, but it would pass by 70%.
Right.
They'd have to do that through a proposed constitutional amendment.
Right.
law. That's the only way you can take something directly to the voters in New Mexico. And I'll be honest with you, amending the Constitution is not the path they want to take.
Do you think there's going to be the resolve then to just pass it as a legislature? Because I'm pretty sure the governor will sign it if it gets that far.
Well, we know that it's going to be introduced. There's no question. And right now, it looks like the votes would clearly be there to pass it in the House.
To get it on her desk.
Yeah,
But
now
not in the Senate.
The Senate is a tougher sell because there's only 42 of them, and even though it's 26 Democrat to 16 Republicans, it's these swing districts, it's the conservative, moderate Democrats that, it's a polarizing issue.
Sure.
They've got a lot of voters that don't like it.
But we have dispensaries in Roswell. We're opening up, and Ultra Health is going to open a dispensary in Clayton. We have
Right.
dispensaries across the state. I mean, so that is kind of making inroads,
Yeah.
getting people kind of more accustomed to the idea. Just full disclosure here, you have any clients in the medical cannabis,
No,
recreational cannabis, Loveless, any aspirations to own a dispensary or a marijuana shop if it becomes legal recreational?
Of course.
Okay.
Yeah, it'd be great if it comes
Maybe
legal.
I'll be your
I mean, it's
partner.
business. Yeah, we could,
I will do live endorsements, although they'll be fake.
frick and frack reefer.
The Navajo Times has Nez ahead 36,000 to Shirley 17 with 101 chapters reporting
Out of,
110. So that looks like Nez is winning.
he's got over double the vote.
Yeah. And I was told by my husband that he also is a metalhead. So he can join.
Nez,
Tim-
really?
Yeah.
He's a headbanger?
Yes, and
So
he can join Tim Keller.
Keller.
Yep.
Yeah. Tim is the one elected official I had when he was leaving the auditor's office. I said, "What do you want to hear?" Metallica. The third word was the F-bomb. And I said, "Sorry." And he said, he looked at me and goes, "Sorry, dude, I forgot." I go, "Sure you did." So we have a president of the Navajo Nation who's a metalhead, and the mayor of Albuquerque. They need to get together somewhere, in between, Fort Stanton or something like that, and do a little headbang.
That's right, team building. Working
Right.
together.
Get some legalized weed up there, and we'd have a party. All right, the national scene. Correct me if I'm wrong at any point here, please, Loveless. It looks like Bill Nelson will lose his seat in the United States Senate. It looks like Florida will not have their first African-American governor. It looks like Rick DeSantis will be the governor of Florida.
Mm-hmm.
It looks like the Republicans will pick up, probably finish the night with maybe 53 seats in the Senate.
Could be 54 now. We're
Could-
still waiting on Arizona. That's
Okay.
going to be a telltale.
So that could be a significant change in the Senate.
Yeah.
But it also looks like the Democrats will have control of the House by maybe 230 seats. They need 218, maybe 230, Loveless.
It could
What
get
do
as
you
high
hear?
as 235, but they're definitely going to have a convincing majority in the House. And they'll be able to set up, a lot of showdowns for. They can fully expose the Republicans if they choose, so if they have enough courage. But in Mississippi, the big surprise is that former Congressman Mike Espy has forced a runoff for the Senate seat. in Mississippi, and their turnout operation is pretty strong there. So he's very close. It's a very tight race for the Senate in Mississippi, and we could have the first African American United States senator since Reconstruction from Mississippi.
That would be huge.
That would be huge.
Yeah, that's a swing.
Yeah, the demographics of Mississippi have been shifting for a while now, and it's been no one's really noticed because you hadn't had a candidate like Mike Espy with high state name recognition
Right.
to really make a run at it.
You know what I'd love to see in New Mexico's future is, we start competing with Mississippi for, all these Annie Casey and New Mexico Voices for Children kind of polling kind of stuff, that we make it a competition to see who can make the most positive gains over the next 4 years.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not neck and neck Mississippi and New Mexico to be at the bottom of all the polls.
Right. It'd be great to see a shift. It'd be great to see a shift.
Right.
And
so that our state motto, I put out a new state motto, suggestion today. We moved from, once again, I tried to give away tickets to see who could name the state motto. Nobody could.
It grows as it goes.
We're going to change it maybe from we're quaint, we're cute, we're corruptible. And it has also been, thank God for Mississippi at different times. So
yeah, it's so true. So we'll keep an eye on that race. And, of course, we'll be following that on Call to Reason as the runoffs now occur. Looks like Stacey Abrams will not be making history in Georgia either. Brian Kemp is right now polling. Georgia also has a runoff system, but looks like Brian Kemp is going to win without one in Georgia, and that is pending provisional ballots that have to be counted. So it won't be called tonight officially, but it looks like Brian Kemp is going to become the next governor of Georgia.
Okay, so that's where we stand now in terms of national races, New Mexico races. Once again, just to look at New Mexico races, that looks like the Democrats will pick up at least 5, although the speaker tweeted, according to the reporter, the New Mexican, at least 6 seats being picked up by the Democrats. More to come, I think the speaker said.
It's at 6 now, for sure.
It's at 6 now, for
yeah,
sure.
They picked up 7. I mean, the Republicans have lost 6. Remember, there's one Democratic seat out there that they could lose. They could lose the George Dodge seat. But right now, the Republicans have lost 6, probably 7.
Okay.
Probably 7.
Christine Chandler, very likely 73%, with 14 to 31 precincts partially reporting in her district, which is Los Alamos, a little bit of Santa Fe County, down around Santa Fe Downs. And El Rancho de los Golondrinas at District 46. Looks like Christine Chandler, she's way ahead of Lisa Shin, but still a lot of votes out there. Andrea Romero will be the next state representative from District 46, so we can finally put that one to bed, it looks like. And Matthew McQueen will keep his seat in House District 50.
And I just saw a tweet from Henry Olson, the guy that I follow, saying Scott Walker still has a chance in Wisconsin. So things are not over until they're over. There's a couple of counties out where he will do well, but Evers is still ahead at this point, the Democrat.
Yeah, Evers still up. In Arizona right now, it's neck and neck.
For Jeff Flake's seat.
Martha McSally is up.
With Sinema.
Is up by 9,000 votes on Sinema right now. 8,500 votes on Sinema. Very neck and neck. With just a few precincts reporting. So still early in Arizona, but they've only counted 1.3 million. So 57% reporting.
Right, statewide
and
race.
It's neck and neck, and that bodes well for the Democrats because it shouldn't be this close with this much voting in.
Mr. Billington.
There's a race we haven't talked about, Public Regulation Commission.
We certainly have not.
And this is an important race because they regulate utilities, electricity, and they have a big say in what our energy mix is.
Absolutely.
How much renewable energy we have. That is a big deal to a lot of people in Santa Fe.
Big time.
So they're going to like this news. We still have a long way to go, but this is District 5. There's only 5 PRC commissioners. 2 3 seats were up. 3 out of the 5 were up.
Lovejoy.
Pat Lyons is vacating his seat. That is definitely
He's term limited out.
That is going to stay Republican, and that will stay in the hands of Jefferson Byrd, so the Republicans will keep that. But District 5, this is the Steve Fishman race versus Ben Hall.
Right.
Steve Fishman is the Democrat. He's a former state Democratic senator from the Las Cruces area, and he's running against Ben Hall, who is a Republican and who was on the commission before. Steve Fishman is leading that race, 51,046 votes to 46,361. That's a pretty good spread. That is pretty much, that's 52 to 48%. That's pretty good.
But as we heard in June from Senator Steinborn, it doesn't matter until all those little
That's
communities
right.
of
That's
southern
right.
New Mexico win.
That's right, but 97,407 votes are in, which is a lot.
And then the other PRC race, the Lovejoy, former Linda Lovejoy
I
seat.
think
Teresa-
Teresa Vicente Aguilar didn't
she's-
have an opponent.
She's running unopposed.
Yeah.
Okay.
So she has that. I didn't
Okay.
mention that because she's unopposed.
Yeah.
But no, look, you've got 97,407 votes in. If there's 5 districts and your total votes cast is going to be in the 600,000, that's getting close.
Okay.
It's getting close.
One interesting thing, News Guy 44, I think that's Monahan, just declared Stephanie Garcia Richard the winner in the Land
Is
Commission.
that right?
So I have no idea if that's accurate, but that's what Daniel Chacon is tweeting. And another interesting national thing, Iowa started out with a Republican governor, 3 GOP reps, 1 Democratic rep. It could end the night with 0 Republicans.
Steve King could
Steve
lose.
King could lose.
Steve King's down right now,
Yep.
and he is not looking good. It's looking like he's going to be booted. I think his connection to bona fide white supremacists and his refusal to back away from them has cost him his seat, and rightfully so.
Yes, hopefully so.
Yeah, Iowa's not. Iowa's one of those heartland states that really doesn't have the full commitment to that brand of conservatism that is found in the Midwest.
Mhm.
I have an uncle who went to medical school, actually, University of Iowa, so we spent a lot of time up there, and I'm not surprised King is losing.
I'm surprised he ever got elected. We've got about 7 minutes here. JD, you have an update for us?
Just one comment on this land commissioner race. So, there's a libertarian in this race. Here's the vote count right now. Stephanie Garcia Richard at 270,000. Pat Lyons at 245,000. And the libertarian is pulling 30,000 votes.
The
which
difference.
Most of those would have gone to Pat Lyons. I mean, had Pat Lyons had those 30,000 votes,
He'd be ahead.
he'd be up 275 to 270. So this is a really, really interesting race. There's still a lot of votes out on this, Inez. I'm kind of surprised that they've called it already, but they must know which votes are out
Where
there,
the votes
what
are.
precincts are, where they're at. But she does have a big lead. She's up 50% to Pat Lyons 45. She's probably going to win that.
We have not even, because it was called before we even went on the air, it was called before anything happened in terms of votes, talked about the U.S. Senate race, and reminded me, because of the Libertarian in that race, Gary Johnson, 553,000 votes cast, 1,063 of 1,500 precincts partially reporting. Right now is Martin Heinrich with 53% of the vote, Mick Rich at 32% of the vote, and Gary Johnson of Libertarian at 15% of the vote. Deb Haaland in her race, 59%. Whether she was declared a winner before the Kansas
She was.
Native American woman, but they have to, whoever gets sworn in first.
That's right. That's right. One thing about the Lyons-Richards race,
Yes.
according to Matthew Reichbach, says Lee is done, Chavez is close, but they still have all of Eddie and Otero and San Juan, but he doesn't know if there's 30,000 there, especially because 25,000 of Santa Fe is left. And Stephanie Garcia Richard was 70 to 30 in Santa Fe County,
Right.
something like that. So it may not be make-upable.
Okay, we've got about 4 minutes left.
Let me just say, too, in New Mexico House 2, Yvette Harrell is up by about 5,000 votes. And there's 96% in. So it really now is going to come down to that Doña Ana and Eddie race to the finish line.
All right, congratulations to the Democrats in the House, especially tonight. They did a great job. Big win for them. Congratulations to Michelle Lujan Grisham and Howie Morales, Maggie Toulouse-Oliver, Brian Colon, Tim Eichenberg, Hector Balderas, still out. We don't know about the State Land Commission race. To Michael Vigil, Supreme Court. Thank you all for coming in tonight, giving up 3.5, 4 hours of your time. JD, sum up the night for you.
It was a blue wave in New Mexico, no question about it. And Speaker of the House has got to be, just ecstatic with this. I will tell you, I am surprised the Republicans lost as many seats in the state house that they did.
Okay.
I think that was a surprise. I'm also, I know Pat and Stephanie very, very well, but Stephanie looks like she's going to pull this out, which is, that is no small. This would be Pat Lyons' first defeat ever.
Right. But once again,
you're the woman.
The woman.
Don't mess with the women.
Inez, your take on tonight. Thank you very much for being part of the show tonight.
You're welcome. I think it's going to be very interesting to see a governor work with the legislature as opposed to oppose the legislature and rule by edict. But I also am really looking forward to how the Senate and the House get along, because I think they might be squabbling more than Democrats and Republicans.
Right. I agree, and what that portends for the city of Santa Fe. We had the mayor on, and he said, he sees cooperation. He sees a lot of people pulling on the rope together in the same direction, but we have ground to make up. Loveless, thank you for coming by tonight. It's great to have you on for your perspective.
Thank you for having me, Richard. And nationally, the blue wave is more like a blue high tide. They definitely did take the House, and it's encouraging. It looks like they flipped six governors' seats, which is very hopeful for redistricting and all that stuff coming up over the next couple years. But in the House, they're going to hold a strong majority, but very disappointing results in the Senate and in key gubernatorial races in Georgia, Florida, Maryland. Disappointing results, but looks like Scott Walker is going to get kicked out of Wisconsin. He's still behind as we wrap up, and so we'll see tomorrow.
Okay, and I'm sure you'll have a lot more reaction and news Sunday at 8 a.m. on Call to Reason along with Beth Cope, and happy to have her on tonight. That was great.
And Shirley has conceded, so Nez is
Ben
the
Shirley,
president.
so Nez will
Joe
be
Shirley.
new president of the Navajo Nation.
Yep.
Congratulations to him as well. Thank you all for listening. It was great having on. Thank you, Gino Thompson, for being our engineer tonight, and I'm sure we'll have a lot more reaction and talk to a lot of the people that mentioned tonight, maybe some of the winners and maybe some of the losers. Have a great evening. Talk to you tomorrow. I'm Richard Eats, signing off for Loveless, Inez, and JD. Talk to you tomorrow on Talk 1260 1037 KTRC.
And we're still live on the internet.
All right, great show, Richard.
I thought it was a very good show. I thought it was really balanced. I loved it. I loved listening to everybody talk.
You know so much. That's really interesting.
One thing, we never really talked about Donald Trump very much, but this was clearly a referendum against Trump.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, in every state in the United States.
The governor's races especially.
Well,
every state in the United States.
I can guarantee you he won't see it that way.
But it is.
Oh, no, they're already claiming big victory.
It is.
Look at how he
The White
delivered
House
for the Senate. Yeah, he's saying everywhere I went, they won in the Senate.